Nitin, why don't you lead?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Al, for letting me. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Nitin Mehra, and I've been given the opportunity, and thanks to Al and all the ASP Online organizers for giving me this opportunity to talk about one of our ASP Online award winners, Dell.com. And we've got Kathy and Kevin here to help us in terms of what Dell has done in the past 1 year, and also even what Dell.com has done in terms of support, what new things.
Is everyone present?
I can hear, and I can hear you. I could hear a mic test there, but then I lost Nitin.
Same. Yeah, I lost his voice.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So sorry about that. I don't know whether something happened.
Do you want us to come off camera to get back a bit of bandwidth to the computer?
Yeah, are you able to see my? So I can probably hide my video. I think that may be a little better.
Yeah, we'll hide our video too then.
Yep. See, that helps.
All right. Yeah, so I've been given the opportunity to talk about support website of Dell, and I've got Kathy and Kevin here to help us walk us through the support website for Dell. What I wanted to do was maybe let the people who have joined us for the first time just give you an overview of how we kind of go about judging websites. And this was my first time judging a website. Thanks a lot, Al, for giving me the opportunity. So you've got 5 different dimensions across which we evaluate websites. It's around site user experience, content offering, content engagement and interaction, site improvement processes, and site measurement processes. And there is a lot of detail around each of these dimensions on which we have to scale. We as judges have a limited view of the website. We are provided with some kind of credentials through which we can evaluate websites. However, it's kind of, and we also have an elaborate essay to go through. But I think what is of a lot of value to us is to get some airtime with the folks who actually run the show on these websites, and that's Kevin and Kathy, who are here to talk about it. So what I want to do is, and for folks who have already seen this in the past, you might have already seen Dell has won this award quite a few number of times. So what I want to do is maybe take us through this in a little different way, maybe talk about the things which are new and exciting on this website to maybe make it interesting for the viewers and make it more relevant as well to the day and time. So let me try and share first my screen. Let me see if I can share. Can you see my desktop?
It's coming up now. Yes, we can see it.
Yeah. So let's start with maybe just an introduction to Kevin and Kathy. Maybe they can talk a little about themselves, and I can maybe give a short overview about myself as well after them, and then we'll jump into talking about Dell.
Sure. So I'll kick off. Kevin Adams. I am the director of our digital content and site operations, which includes everything from our knowledge management practices, search, and a lot of the translations, content around videos, web pages, publishing, all things really content related. And so I've been at Dell for 27 years. over a variety of roles. I've been in this role for the better part of about 8-9 years, I believe, something like that. And it's exciting because everything we do changes in a great way. So I'm always finding new challenges and new opportunities to incorporate some cutting edge technology in changing our practices to accommodate that. I'll hand it over to Kathy.
Thank you, Kevin. So my name is Kathy Burke, and the title's a little bit outdated. I'm a senior consultant, operations and strategy. And so I take the lead for our ASP award, working with all of the leaders within the organization to really come forward with what we want to put forward for the submission. That's one of the things that I do. I do a whole host of other things that really aren't relevant here, but that's what I do for the organization. So I have a passion for user experience. I was a researcher for many years for everything.com platform globally. And I know that if we are not doing what's right by our customers and how they expect to see it, also align with technology, what the businesses allow with the funding, we're going to miss the mark. And the number one thing for us is our customers. They have to be able to self-serve. And that is a top priority for our organization. And it is a top priority for Dell. So we're excited to be able to take part in these and share with you what we are doing and also learn from you and what everyone here is doing. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Kevin, and thanks, Kathy. Maybe I'll give a short overview about myself. My name is Nitin Mehra, and I work as a director for support engineering at Nutanix. And what I do is probably I'm leading both the backend SRE experience and also our customer support portal from an engineering standpoint. So that's a little about myself. What we wanted to do was we all have maybe come across websites across the ecosystem where we have seen support. What I wanted to kind of highlight over here is how Dell manages this at scale, managing support at scale, and how complex that might be. I would want us to give a glimpse of that through this interview experience. So before I jump into it, I just maybe to give either Kevin or Kathy, either one of you can take this question. I just wanted to help us give, everybody has heard about Dell, but maybe you can give us a short overview of the product ecosystem that kind of Dell drives, and then maybe give us an overview about the organization structure in terms of, I probably would want you to talk more from a support standpoint and how you interface with the product ecosystem.
Sure, and I'll be happy to field that question, Nitin. I think Dell's a brand that's been around for a long time. I think many people know it, and I think oftentimes people associate Dell as a company that might, you'll get a laptop, maybe something like that. Actually, that picture you see right there, a great example. That's the picture I think many people associate with Dell. And while it's true, we sell many laptops and gaming products and desktops. We're also one of the largest and vast infrastructure providers as well. So everything from your client systems to your workstations to server storage, networking, cloud, security, AI computing. Our portfolio is very broad and very vast, and it's growing, certainly in the AI industry as a whole. And within the support experience, we accommodate every kind of user and every kind of product and service that you could imagine. So it's a very broad product portfolio and service offering. And that's part of the challenge. How do we serve these different needs of different customer types? And so as we talk through some of the answers we'll give today, we'll focus on maybe two types of experiences we can talk through. One is going to be more of what we call the transactional experience, which is maybe I own a laptop, a desktop, I'm a everyday user of one of those kind of products, and how we provide product support for that is targeted in a very specific way for that user. And then The other experiences we might talk about will be kind of our commercial, enterprise, and fleet management experience. And these are designed for users that maybe they run a help desk and they support hundreds, if not thousands, of systems in a data center. And what they need is very different than someone who's supporting their laptop that they just bought when they went off to school. So we kind of really break up our tools and experiences into those two broad categories. And everything we do is kind of centered around those two, I'll call them business units, our consumer and client line of business and our infrastructure line of business. That's really kind of how we break up our experiences as well as the support models. And I don't know, Kathy, if there's anything you want to add to that?
Kevin, I would just add that, the customers that we work with, as Kevin shared, they're really about your consumers and your enterprise customers. But these customers, the host of products that Dell has available across the board, and the ability to go in and support these products based on the customer's knowledge, anywhere from, say, if my mother was using a computer, if you have someone from a major company that's using a computer, it can be a small business who, even though they may be 15 people, they're managing thousands of systems for a company. And so we really have to plan and look at that across the board as we're designing the website and also all the intents of what our customers come here to do. So if you can imagine the complexity, I know people try to take a website and compare it to another website, and that's really not an approach that is feasible because the websites could be very simplistic and the websites could be very complex. Dell is one of those websites that is very complex. And again, our focus is really around our customer experience, and that's something we keep our eye on all the time, is our customer satisfaction across the board. Whether, again, it's our consumers or it's our enterprise, or Kevin calls it, infrastructure class products. And so I just want to keep that in mind as we go through this entire question set here. If you have that as your foundation, it gives you a frame of reference of what we look at to satisfy.
Thanks. Thanks, Kathy. Thanks, Kevin. Also, if you can just elaborate on how the support organization is structured, because that will give us an idea about, or the audience an idea about how large the organization may be and how you are distributed across geographies and even hierarchy.
Kevin,
Sure. So we're very large, globally dispersed organization. We have been for a very long time. So we have most of our teams are spread across every continent, every country you can imagine. And there's maybe 3 or 4 ways I would say that we work in kind of functional units or pods. So we have our product group, which is responsible for deciding what is the products we are going to sell. So we work closely with product groups because they're kind of the entry point for when new products and offers are going to be released, and then what the supportability and serviceability is going to look like for that. So product group is very big. I think also, as I mentioned, within our services organization, we really operate as 2 kind of almost distinct businesses, as I like to call it, our client computing space versus our infrastructure. So each of those kind of have leads that we work up under our services organization. And so we like I said, we almost treat them as separate businesses, and even within infrastructure, there's multiple businesses within the businesses. Best way to think about it. How you support and manage a server product is very different than mixed IP solutions and in cloud computing and in data protection software. And then we also work very closely. We have a services IT organization. So everything that we do from a website perspective is very much supported by our IT organization, which includes our design and development groups too. So everything from the platforms that we use, the capabilities we deploy, the UI and UX that we design is all kind of under that umbrella of our services IT organization. So I'd say those are the big pillars, our actual services, remote support organizations, our product groups, and our services IT organizations work hand in hand together to kind of put together these experiences that we share. And then we have a lot of shared capabilities. Even though we work as a services organization, we leverage a lot of the same technology and systems and data and capabilities with our online sales organization team. So we want to make it a seamless transition from the time that you buy a product to the time that you receive it and then you support it. So we also have quite a bit that we leverage across those kind of organizations too. But from serviceability perspective, those are kind of the big 3 or 4 and how we're kind of organized.
Right. Thanks, Kevin, for that. So so going from there, right? So maybe this was a product and a business organization kind of point of view. What I wanted to go on to was the customer side of things, and you kind of touched upon it by talking about client users and enterprise users. But are there other personas as well, like maybe channel partners, service providers? And this kind of also will give a glimpse to others that there's not only that mix, but there's more to it as well.
Oh yeah, we have many personas and many users. So, whether it's when I think about it from a persona perspective, people who are maybe buying their very first electronic device, we have to make sure it's very simple to receive it. Like it even starts even up front, like in the ordering process. But once you receive it, how do I put it all together? How do I make it work seamlessly? So we work with very novice first-time users. Gamers is a big area. Alienware. Everything we do around Alienware isn't just how do I set up my product for the first time. It's how do I optimize my system for being able to get the most frames per second. How can I be able to upgrade it when the latest video card comes out, things like that. Then we have our power users and business professionals, right? They need to be able to do things like AutoCAD, engineering, AI, data science modeling, things like that. And then again, it goes into the various infrastructure needs. So we have lots of different users. We try to accommodate them based on either one, if it's a product focus, that could be one, or in the case of I'm a large business and I have tens, maybe even hundreds of people supporting the products I bought from Dell. That goes all the way into, we have an account management process where if you're a premier user, you can set up permissions and access and delegate who can create your service requests. What's the health score of my portfolio? We provide telemetry tools so you can be able to see and remotely manage your systems and things like that. So it's really kind of dependent upon the product and the need of the user. But there's more than just 2. Like I said, I mentioned the client business and the infrastructure business, but the reality is, we really probably have closer to maybe 10 core personas that we focus on and trying to provide very tailored experiences for each of them.
Yeah, so one of the suggestions which I was giving to Kevin and Kathy was, think about maybe giving that experience to the audience and to the judges as well. It would be an eye-opener for all of us to learn as to how all of this is kind of handled behind the scenes. Although, it's probably, they cannot share login credentials and all, but if there were a way, other ways of kind of sharing that information of how all these personas they are visible to users outside. So would be a good experience to see that, to experience that.
Absolutely. Yep.
Talking about, again, we're in the realm of site user experience. So just wanted to maybe give this open forum, and maybe you can talk about, Kathy or Kevin, talk about what are the new and exciting things, maybe new content types. I came across a few and I maybe had got a glimpse of it. Maybe we can talk more about it with the folks over here. And if you can also help me walk through it, I'll probably showcase it to them.
Actually, let me tell you one. If you want to, if you could type in the box in the middle to identify your product at the bottom. Sorry, if you scroll down just a little bit, type in 5531, which is one of our Latitude products. that we launched a new content type. There it is. And it's that little blue icon at the top left under the image. It's called 3D Guides. And you can click on any one of these if you want to just kind of be able to show. The concept behind this, you can stay either way, it'll be fine. The concept behind this is giving interactive guides in its loading on your system on how you can tear down your system, install parts, take parts in and out. So this is brand new, something we just launched, and again, we'll have it available by the end of the year for pretty much all of our currently shipping products. And it goes from everything from how do you take the bezel apart, how do you take parts in and out, the tools you need to use. Again, it has interactive audio, autoplay, and accessibility features that are available. And this is something we actually received feedback from our field teams and some of our customers saying, hey, I really want a more guided experience. The manuals on this are sometimes hard to use, either because of the pictures or I just don't know. One other thing you can do here, even though I know it's showing you the video, at any point you can zoom in, zoom out, and even rotate the product around to really, let's say there's a particular screw you're unsure of, you can at any point zoom in and move around to really get the view that you're looking for. So this is something brand new we launched maybe 4 weeks ago. We've received very positive CSAT. It's much more interactive than our just standalone play videos. It's also very useful for a lot of different audiences. So I know, for example, you talked about who are the different personas. This is very useful for our own field engineers. So if they're having a particular issue taking something apart, they pull this up and then they can really get a nice view of what specifically should they be looking for if they've never interacted with one of these systems. Also very helpful in data centers too. So we cover, again, our laptops and desktops, our server storage devices as well. So this is something new that we launched. We'll continue to expand as well as globalize. So right now you're just looking at an English version, but this will be available in all the countries and languages that we also offer these products in. So that's one that I really like, that we're excited about. A couple of other things, I won't give you visual demos, but I'll kind of mention them. We have our virtual assistant, and we're starting to roll out generative AI capabilities within our virtual assistant. So I don't believe on this product we have launched it yet, but in our PowerEdge systems, we are starting to have the ability to pull in knowledge content within the answers and get summarized answers kind of combined across different across our different knowledge sets and data sets that we have. So if you want to simulate it, if you go into the top masthead search, actually, you can type in slow performance. That might probably give you some kind of answer.
Do you want him to add our
Looks like Peter might have a question as well.
And if you scroll down, it will be very much like what you're seeing there. Just below there, it will give you kind of that generative answer that pulls in from an LLM that we've put together using a combination of our articles and manuals and videos and things like that, but within the VA experience is a way to think about it. So we're taking what we've already launched within our search experience and we're putting that within our virtual assistant experience, which can also launch workflows and things like that. So that's something brand new that's going to be coming in the future to all of our products. Like I said, we just launched this in PowerEdge, and you'll start seeing it in the client products in the near future.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah,
Was there a question?
Yeah, as Kevin shared, there's been a lot of things expanded too in the infrastructure space or enterprise space that makes it easier for our customers, specifically PowerEdge, as he talked about earlier. Those are things that we're probably not able to show you here, but just its continual evolution of the site.
Yeah, just the thing I'll add to what Kathy said, we focused a lot of the last year on modernizing the client product experience. And this year we've been really modernizing and updating the enterprise product experience. Lots of new capabilities that have been coming there, and we continue to launch every week new features.
Congratulations on these 3D guides. I just had one question. So is when it's a guide, is it always a set of prescriptive steps, or do you have like troubleshooting decision trees?
Right now, it's focused. It can be whatever we want it to be in the future. The technology is certainly flexible, but our primary use case for the initial rollout has been around parts, because that's where we get most of the feedback of where the complexity is that can leverage this kind of ability to zoom in and zoom out and move around. When it comes to troubleshooting, we can often cover some of that really in a I'll call it a regular video, if that makes sense. So this is probably one of the first and best use cases we've seen where the ability to zoom in, zoom out, tear apart, redo it is maybe more helpful beyond a standard video, if that makes sense. But it's open to whatever we want to do in the future.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Kevin had kind of also touched upon that there is an AR app as well.
Yes.
You would want to touch upon that?
So yeah, everything you've seen here, we also have available in an app version, and it actually is useful for two things. The app is an even better experience. It's smoother, it's more streamlined, but it's the same content. So that's one of the nice things we're doing here. We're using the same content on the web as we're using in the app. So you'll be able to do it. But again, it's just a smoother, better experience. The app is designed primarily, right, to use through your phone. One of the advantages of the app is you can overlay the image from the AR, and it will do augmented reality with the app. So that's one of the really nice use cases. You can take it, highlight it over your system, and it will highlight on the system exactly where you need to do this step using augmented reality. The other nice advantage of that is also works if you need to go somewhere where you're in a dark site. So the app has that advantage versus just being, currently online.
And I think, Kevin, one other thing that's important to mention is all the work being done around the virtual assistant. We talked about PowerEdge earlier. There's also the intent creation. So we continue to create intent so the customer's intents can be solved through a VA, but also self-dispatch. There are certain areas where a customer, if they go, say, this is the issue that I'm having, they walk through the steps. Some of the customers, depending on what their issue is, can also self-dispatch. When I say some, if they're in warranty, out of warranty would not be able to do that. It'd be a little bit different for them. But the in warranty customers can self-dispatch through a VA. So we continue to make that available to them. Again, keeping the customers within the online experience where they really want to be. And this type of thing that Kevin just shared with us is huge because, again, customers want to be able to take care of themselves. And between the VA, the intense expansion, ability to self-dispatch, when they get what they need, the 3D guides that helps them, is just across the board looking at how everything is linked together to ensure our customers are taken care of.
Yeah.
And this is just a small snapshot. I mean, honestly, you could come to our website every month. You're going to find new things. So it's a product. Like we see self-service as a product. Is the best way to think about it. So we're building as many capabilities as possible to make it simple and easy for our customers to be able to use that as a product, as a service offering. And that means we got to be able to give them all the same tools and capabilities and content that we would provide to our own agents and our partners.
Now, as Kevin touched on agents, I want to share that with the number of launches that we do, we also have an internal mechanism within our organization where we create communications that are sent out as launches are taking place. Those communications help the agents know what's coming. So one, they can better serve the customer. And two, if the customer comes to them and says, hey, I saw this, tell me about it or walk me through it, the agent's aware of it before it takes place. So we send that out through email as products launch. And then we also post that to our website as a repository so that they have that at their fingertips if they need to go to the website. So they can choose to save it in email or they can choose to go to the website to use it. And it's really important that we're synchronized with our support agents. So again, they can help the customers if that customer calls in or if they themselves need that for some reason. And so we think about that again, it's the holistic approach. How do we not just say it's about online, but also how do we ensure a smooth transition, for those support agents who are taking care of our customers when they do call in.
Yeah, I see a lot of value in that because I've seen this a lot where customers come back with some questions, queries, and they raise cases, and we kind of talk to, and when they come to the engineering teams, we said that we had released a feature, or maybe this was released prior, and they say, when did you release it? And they're not probably the SREs are not kind of aware of that something had been released in the past. So I think, yes, keeping the agents informed as and when things get released on the website is good experience for our end customers.
And it's part of our digital strategy as we have our agents co-browsing with customers. We want them to walk them through, hey, did you know next time you want to do this, you can do it on your own. So it's just part of the whole shift left strategy.
Awesome. Also, what I saw was that there's a lot of reuse which is happening over here. I mean, this CAD design would have come up when the product was designed, and now it is being used by the end customer, and they have a view of it. So awesome, good work. One of the things which I noticed on a website, and I think this was touched upon prior as well, what I noticed is that Dell collects a lot of feedback along the way, and many different kinds of feedback. And this is something which we kind of struggle with, getting feedback from customers. And I think you guys touched upon it in the last interview as well. You get tons of feedback, and in many different ways. I just wanted to maybe you guys to elaborate on it. How do you manage to collect a lot of feedback because I think when a customer comes over here, they come here for the purpose of resolving an issue, essentially to a support website, and they want to get out of it quickly. But feedback is kind of interfering that process in between. Maybe you ask towards the end, but by then most people kind of have want to move on to their tasks. So just wanted you to touch upon that.
So I'll ask Kathy, because she can give you a pretty good overview of kind of the feedback mechanisms. But one of the things I will call out is our customer base is very large and very vast, and we have hundreds of millions of customers that come to our website every year. So just based on the volume of that number, we're going to get a lot of feedback. So we have the law of numbers working in our favor when it comes to feedback. And I don't know, Kathy, do you want to touch on the different types of feedbacks and maybe what we do with them, that kind of stuff?
Yes, definitely. So we didn't have in place 3 different mechanisms. We have the mechanism of auto-executed survey that is, again, built in so that customers are not fatigued by surveys. But this is one they can opt to take. It's the one you were talking about a moment ago. And this one, again, goes out to all of our customers. A vast number of customers that come in globally. The majority of the feedback that we receive is in the consumer space. In the enterprise space, we have some. We would definitely like to get a lot more, but it's really heavily weighted toward the consumer space when we talk about the consumer class products. And with that, we can go in and glean what our customers are saying based on the select questions that they themselves answer. They can also give verbatim feedback. And we look at that every single time that feedback comes in. So there's some automation built into that as well, so that we can look at that information in a timely manner, but also look at a comparative across time. And so that's one mechanism. The one you're looking at right now is one that Kevin's team has in place. And it's really around, this is, Kevin, I think, of the microfeedbacks.
It is.
That's another one. So we have 3 main ones. We have the one we just talked about. We also have the, if you go to an article, you'll see it within the article, there's the ability to give feedback about that specific article. All of those goes directly to Kevin's team, and his team looks at that data, and then they determine what needs to happen with that data, and then they put that into place. Again, there's the whole thing around, what could we do from a technology perspective? What can they do? What money's required? What's the priorities? There's all those trade-offs that have to be considered. What you looked at a second ago is what we call micro feedbacks. And you may see that on pages to where we want on certain pages, or maybe it's something we just recently launched and we want a customer's experience so we can get that experience at a very select place. And those are all throughout the website. It's not on everything. It's really around areas that we really want to have feedback come in. And then we have a fourth survey, which is around the virtual assistant. And within the VA experience, the customers can have that survey or take that survey to give feedback about the VA experience. That feedback goes directly to the VA team, virtual assistant team, and then they do something similar to Kevin. They look at all that data, they determine what to do with the data and how to move it forward. So I can share with you that every single customer that gives feedback to us, every single one is being reviewed, whether it has feedback, verbatims, or it does not. That is something that we really invest in, because if we don't understand where our customers are coming from, we don't know how to best serve them. And it's like people say, you know, if you don't give them a platform to share their feedback with you, they'll find a platform. And we're not going to be able to have access to that data necessarily. And really, we want that data. We want to be able to parse it. We really want to be able to use that to learn to where we need to go forward. It's not about Dell. It's not about the technology we're trying to move to. It's a combination. And that's where those 4 feedback avenues come into play. Again, every single feedback our customer gives to us is reviewed by the team that's responsible for that data. IT also has access to it, as does the customer success team, which is a team that is not within our organization, but it's within Dell, that we also have accountability to on that customer feedback. So that feedback is very critical for us in that. Kevin, do you want to talk about community for a sec? He just posted that one up about how we glean data out of community to move into articles.
Yeah, so I mean, again, community is part of our overall support strategy. It gives a place for customers to either raise issues or raise questions. We have an entire process around it. We refer to it as gamification, which is incentivizing our rock stars to help answer questions within the community. The other nice thing that can come from this is we have customers have the ability to mark a community post as this answered my question or this solved my problem. And that can become a forum eventually to see if we have a knowledge gap, for example, in our knowledge base. So we use that as part of our knowledge management best practices to understand if there's a new or trending issue maybe that's coming up in the community that doesn't have a documented solution. That can eventually be fed into our process to review, validate, and then again, globalize an answer we can provide out to our customers.
Yeah, so I know everyone here is hearing little pieces here or there about, you know, what we're doing. Just know that it is really, truly a holistic approach. And we look at everything that ties together, whether it's this, drivers, download, support assist. This website is vast, and it literally takes every single one of us to come in and partner, collaborate, and deliver for what our customers need. Again, it's a partnership, and it's really about, you know, what customers need, what Dell needs, factoring in technology, prioritization, funding, people resources. All that comes into when we're building out this strategy of what we do and what we deliver and the timeframes in which we deliver. So we're not looking at right now, we're constantly looking forward as well as to what technologies come in our way.
And community is great too, because there's a certain type of customer that really values that customer to customer interaction. To say, hey, I have this issue. Have you seen it? Yes, I have. What did you do? They really enjoy the helping each other out, if you will. And then the advantage of that too is as those problems get identified and solved even within the community, a lot of the content in here is very well found by like Google and things like that. So it tends to rank really well in terms of SEO, in terms of if someone else, the next person comes along and asks that question, generally they have a high chance of being able to find the answer to it.
Yeah, that's great. So one of the things, I mean, since you already went into the realm of talking about how SEO content can be kind of discovered by Google or other websites, maybe this is maybe something which we are observing, and I wanted to kind of validate with you folks as well. With the advent of Gen AI, a lot of these solutions will surface up right up in Google and would drive lesser traffic onto the website, since customers would be able to get their questions answered right there, then and there itself. So just wanted to maybe ask you guys, do you kind of observe that kind of a shift as well, where you kind of, I mean, it's a good thing that the number of customers turning up on the website may be a little fewer, because since they get themselves, I mean, they get their resolution right up there outside in Google or Bing otherwise. So are you seeing a shift over there in that space?
Well, let me back it up and answer it, because it's a layered answer. So we've seen kind of this transition, and we're maybe in the early stages of it, from search engine optimization, which is traditionally someone would go to Google, Baidu, Bing, pick your engine, and you would have searched for information. You might get what was previously we'd refer to as a snippet. Usually the snippet wasn't enough to answer your question fully, but it gave you enough context to know that this is what I'm looking for. And then you'd click into the web page and load, and you'd follow the answers. So we spent a lot of work on SEO optimization. So our website ranks really well when it comes to SEO. Most of our self-help content you probably will be able to find through a search engine. And that's been ever increasing, right? More and more people are going to a search engine first for their answer rather than directly to our website. And we've seen that trend for many years. And then kind of somewhere in the middle, we call it AEO, Answer Engine Optimization, which is kind of the equivalent of, I'm going to give you the answer here. It's kind of the Google Gemini version of an answer. And then if we take that more generically into the industry, which is GEO, Generative Engine Optimization. So maybe three things I'll mention about that. The first thing is we've actually looked at the industry data, what's happening. Gartner, for example, just came out with a report a couple of months ago saying about 55% of all customers currently use AI search platforms to find information on service issues. So that's an industry statement. And by 2027, 40% of all service issues will very likely be resolved by third-party tools powered by Gen AI. So that is their prediction. And if you're like me, 2027 is around the corner. Even though it's a year out, it's around the corner. So are we seeing this? Yes, a little bit. Do we think we're going to be at that 40% benchmark by 2027? It's hard to tell. But we are seeing some. What we are seeing currently is more zero clicks. Like you said, people are getting their answers, but we're still seeing traffic come to our website as well too. Although it's very possible we will see a shift from that. So we're monitoring with our analytics very closely to see what we expect. Our general philosophy is going to be, if 40% of the service issues will be resolved by third-party tools, we need to make sure we're participating in that space, we're giving the right answers. And also our expectation is that it will be maybe more of the simple things. So I've got a question on how do I do this? What is this? How do I fix this? Some very simple questions and answers. Those are the things we're expecting these Gen AI tools to answer. And for the more complex things or more personalized, very prescriptive things, continue to come engage with Dell directly for those answers. So we're seeing a little bit, but we're not seeing a ton at this point of cannibalization, but our eyes are on it very closely. We measure it. We are even doing our own efforts to make sure, just like I showed you, I think, in one of the search experiences, everything that we do, we want to make sure it can leverage AI to give you an answer. So absolutely, it's an industry trend. We're starting to see a little bit but where it's going to end up and how quickly we're waiting to see ourselves.
Thanks, Kevin, for giving an overview about
Are
that.
you eating
Sorry,
gay? No idea.
I'm sorry. Okay. All
What?
right. I'm okay. All right. I think there's someone
Hey,
unmuted.
Danielle, I think you're off mute.
Yeah. So we probably coming towards the end. I just wanted to maybe touch upon the site measurement processes. There were a bunch of other questions which I couldn't get to, but this is something which is interesting, and you kind of touched upon it briefly, Kevin. It might impact how GenAI is going to impact, but at least I would like to know from you guys, how do you measure success of your support website? In simplistic terms, I think there might be a lot of depth to it, but maybe at a high level, how do you guys measure success of your support website?
So I would say there's two key metrics that we focus on. The first one is, were you able to achieve self-service, 100% self-service? So in our opinion, if you can get your question answered without actually having to get help, meaning everything was available on your own, we call that success. So just, are you having to get a case created and have some kind of intervention because the site wasn't able to answer questions? So that self-service metric is really key. Could I get in and do everything I wanted to do on my own? And then how was that? Your satisfaction, I think, is a key thing. And there's lots of sub metrics, I think, that go under those, but we want people to be able to find their information that they want to and do it in a way that is effortless, simple, and easy, and that they're happy that they did that. Those are probably the two most fundamental metrics that we look at. And then there are others that we could kind of go into. Sometimes you're not going to be able to do everything on your own, and you're going to create a case. Well, the first thing we want to see is, can we augment some of that through, again, our virtual assistant? Can we, let's say you have a parts failure, you're under warranty. Well, we would like to be able to help set up that dispatch for you online. For example, you're going to have to create a case, and that's fine, but we want to be able to do it in a way where, rather than have to wait on the phone 5 or 10 minutes to have someone do it, you can just log it right there, validate your address, and get it sent directly to your house, or even schedule a field agent, depending on your service contract, things like that. And then finally, maybe the third area to think about is there's going to be times when you have to contact an agent, or you even want to contact an agent. We want to make sure when you do that, again, that they're equipped to answer your question in a very quick and timely fashion, that they can troubleshoot effectively, and then also, again, that you have a good experience with them. So, I'd say those are the three kind of key interfaces you can have with us. One is where no case is created. The other is where a case is created, but it still might be a digital case. And the third is going to be an assisted case.
And in addition to what Kevin shared, the other thing that we really look at closely, again, is that CSAT number. And it's a CSAT number that comes in for the website itself. We look at VA as well, but that one that comes in for the website is huge for us. And when we think about, are we hitting the mark? Because we can do everything we think that we're supposed to do, but if we're not doing what our customers need to be able to do, then we've missed the mark somewhere. And so I'd add that fourth one in there, Kevin.
No, that's great. CSAT's the heart of everything we do. We want to be able to make sure we're not just doing it, but we're doing it the right way. If we're giving an answer, but we're making it hard, that's not sufficient.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, Kevin and Kathy, for that awesome experience, just giving us a glimpse about how Dell support works. And maybe I can open it up for any questions that the audience may have.
Merrick, do you want to ask your questions live?
I see
Kevin-
that there is. Yep.
Kevin, they're in the chat. One of them is Dell.com. Do you rely also on Google search?
Well, I won't speak directly to like the technologies that we use internally, but we do have, again, an SEO strategy that relies heavily. Google is one of the largest search engines out there, so we very much spend time optimizing for Google results, if that makes sense. And again, I don't know if I can give you the number of clicks. We certainly have that data, but I will say we get a lot. We optimize very heavily, and that is one of the predominant engines that customers use. I don't know if that answered your question.
So I just a site before, and I think it's great. I really do. What I really like about the site is the very powerful filter. Once someone has put their identification in for their device, it just filters out all the noise, and you see exactly what you want for that device. You can get the drivers, you can get the help, etc. Very powerful. The question I wanted to ask is to what extent are the digital services you offer customized versus platforms? Are you 50-50? Are you 70-30? And how do you feel about that kind of mix?
So I will say, I mean, we do have some very product specific services that we offer, but maybe there's two ways to think about this. We first start with kind of I'm going to call it warranty entitlement level. So we've kind of got like a good, better, best approach. Sometimes we'll refer to that like entry level's basic, which is going to be the least costly, right? But it's going to entitle you to maybe hardware coverage. And then we're going to start with maybe like a premium support, which is going to include additional things like software and virus and some how-tos and configuration support information and services. And then we'll even go into like some of our very high-end enterprise. You can get everything from like a 1 hour, incident recovery and all these other things, right? So we do have standard platform offerings. Some of them are tied to the product, some are universal. And so I would say we probably do a lot of our mix is kind of in the standard offerings, but we do certainly do lots of custom offerings. I don't know if I can get into the splitter numbers to give you, but I would say that focus is more on our commercial and enterprise segment, and not something you would see like on someone who bought like just a basic Dell laptop or something like that. So when we get into,
sorry, Kevin. I didn't mean the customer's mix of customization. Mm-hmm. I meant your digital offerings. So how much of this is it all in-house developed? Do you have a database and a Java stack and then web developers, or do you buy platforms?
It both. So like we didn't develop our own CRM. We use some of the industry standard CRMs, but our IT team does develop things and do things. So it's a blend. The way I like to think of it is if it's in our core competency, we want to develop. If there's an industry standard that does it, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of our philosophy, right? So if someone's got a really good product that works well and integrates with our stack, we'll consider partners and vendors. But if it gives us if it's a competitive advantage for us, we'll build it ourselves. So it's a mixture of the two, and I imagine probably most companies probably operate that way. We're not going to build it all, but we're also not going to buy it all. You're going to see probably in general that you just have to evaluate what you're good at. So do I think Google bought some kind of company to do their search? No, they probably built their search, right? But they might be, using someone else for their CRM, maybe, right? Or someone else for their content management system. So it kind of just depends on what your business model is and what you're good at.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we've come to the end of the first interview. And maybe I can hand it over to you.
So Nitin, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I have one final wrap-up question for you. As a judge, what do you think if you had to summarize and say 3 reasons why this company, Dell, received an award, what would you say to that? What are the three, in summary, what are kind of the three main reasons that they were given an award this year?
Well, from my standpoint, the detailed criteria which was published for the judges, right? I found it really tough to actually deduct any points across many of those dimensions. So that is probably the number one reason I would say. Number two, which I saw over there, was how well the site was organized in terms of how it interfaces with the main website, and it's quite transparent to navigate to the support website. Very few websites have seen work function like that. And the third reason, which I feel is probably also the icing on the cake, is the scale at which it operates. The number of multilingual options that it has, and just to think of it, how to do a product launch across multiple languages, multiple geographies, how this would probably scale and how complex that itself is, and to do that in a very smooth way. I did not find any glitches on the website per se. There might have been a few, but I think those were very, I would probably be able to find that out across many other websites, but in terms of the experience was mind-blowing.
Okay, thank you. We do have one last question from our friend Christine Ryan over at Red Hat. She says, we love your discussion area. What kind of moderation from within Dell do you have on it? Are people responsible for answering about product areas, or does the community handle all of it?
Thank you,
Yeah.
Al, for reading it. I just wanted to say, we love your discussion area. It's really pretty. Melissa and I were just talking about it.
It's a mix of both, right? Like, so we have incentives for our community to be involved, but we also we have an entire social and community group. So we engage all the way from the community platform into the social space as well. So it's a combination of the both. I think personally, certain customers love to interact with the customers. They love to hear the customer answer customer to customer, but we also don't want to take legitimate concerns and have them go unanswered. So there's kind of this process and timeline that we use between those two, as well as just how we reach out and engage with people on it. But it's a mix.
And we also want to ensure that what's being posted there are things that should be posted there, because sometimes things filter in that we do not want there. So we'll kindly take those things out.
Absolutely. Yep.
I've had to do that myself once or twice. We have some forums over on our customer portal as well, so I'm familiar with the issue. Thank you for sharing.
Well, Nitin and Kathy and Kevin, thank you very much for spending time with us today. We're going to move on now to NetApp. So Peter, go ahead and put up your camera and unmute. And Laura, are you on there? I'm afraid you're logged in as a, oh, you are there. Good.
Hi.
Good. So you can unmute your camera.
I think everybody can hear me, right? Yep.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So we're now going to discuss, well, we're going to review NetApp's award-winning site. This is, okay, Laura, how many years in a row now? 7?
8 actually.
8.
Yeah, we're extremely excited. We've been entering the ASP Award since 2018, so super awesome and very happy to be among the esteemed people. A lot of people on this call, a lot of companies on this call who've also won multiple times. So yeah, we're super excited.
That's true. The those that know how to win seem to continue to win, but it can be hard to break into the awards because the total scores keep going up.
Yes,
so
getting more competitive.
Yeah, it makes it even harder if you're in a company that hasn't won before to win, or in some cases we have had companies that maybe won once but they couldn't win again because they were just at the lower end of the scoring. So I don't want to discourage you. Keep going. But I also want to point out that state of the art is moving. And tomorrow we'll be discussing part of the moving of that with AI. It just came up a little bit in the Dell discussion. But Laura and Peter, why don't you go ahead and review the site? And Peter, I'll end by asking you about the main reasons you think that they won an award this year.
Yeah, happy to. So Nitin, thanks for the first presentation. You've set a really high bar there. That's great. And just to speak to what you said just now, Al, about the bar in the industry moving, the focus of this presentation is really the theme of these 2 days. It's AI powered tools. So 2 of the deep dives that you'll see on the agenda here, the Elio, I need to pronounce it right. The virtual assistant is AI powered, and the AI powered search that the NetApp site has. So first, a few words for those who don't know me. I'm a judge. I've been judging about exactly the same length of time as the NetApp site has been entering into the ASP Awards. So that's 7 years, and I've judged NetApp for the last 3 years. I think it's 3 years on the go, but there may have been 1 year break. And it's just been great to see the evolution of the site during that time. It's clear to me as a judge that from the essay and from the way the features are evolving, how NetApp listens to their users, how they're continuously improving things and they're innovating. And there were a few things that I was always envious of over the years. They were ahead of us on the SSO because they have a collection of sites and they made the SSO work quite seamlessly. And then the API models to get support in the product and to be able to dynamically construct these pages from different sources and produce that, which we'll see in this presentation. Laura, I want to leave you a bit of space as well to introduce or say a few words just to start with.
Sure. Thank you so much. Well, I'm very excited that you like us so much. First of all, thank you. We're very happy about that. But I'm actually a senior product manager, basically for the NetApp support site, but we're under the umbrella of digital support or digital support experience. And my background is digital. So I've done digital marketing, digital product, and I've been doing it for over 20 years. Similar to Kathy earlier, my passion is definitely user experience. So I'm really excited that a lot of the focus of what Peter will talk about today is really related to optimizing that user experience, because at the end of the day, to help people self-support, that's really key. I'm also a board member of the Triangle User Experience Professional Association. I've spoken at a number of conferences, including speaking with James Askew, who's my manager at NetApp at TSIA, which was really exciting. That was a couple of years ago. I've been at NetApp for about 13 years, and I'm based out of RTP, North Carolina. I just want to say on the chat today, I have a lot of my fellow team members that I just want to shout out a couple of them. We have Derek Ryan, who is the key person who helped with the Gen AI that Peter will talk about today. And we also have Sarah Thrasher on the chat as well, who is one of our experts and driver of Elio. So thank you.
That's great to have Derek and Sarah on, because I won't be able to say very much or answer questions about what's going on under the covers. So I will just be showing, hopefully, and demoing the actual experience for the users. And it should make it really interesting to have those of you who know about what's going on under the covers online. So please correct me on this, Laura, if I'm wrong, but at NetApp, you're a global leader in terms of providing data infrastructure. So whether that's on-premise data structure or hybrid cloud data services and management solutions, and the kinds of people that are accessing your website are the grumpy IT system administrators with a lot of responsibility, especially nowadays with all of the disaster and recovery and backups and the pressure that's on them to make sure that nothing goes wrong. And with the data infrastructures needing to support AI workloads and just keeping these data arrays up to date. So I would imagine that it's fair to say that it will be mainly these very responsible IT system administrators and storage engineers, possibly some partners who are implementing, if you have service partners who implement these appliances, and possibly guest users as well who read the documentation, read the FAQs, so they're more occasional users. Is that a fair summary of the main audience?
Awesome assessment. You got it right on. Yeah, basically from a role-based perspective, we have customer, partner, guest. Within partner, there's obviously subsets like OEM, for example. Yeah, obviously a customer is somebody who's probably directly using our NetApp offerings and is engaging with digital support. A partner probably has their own customers and then is supporting their own customers on their NetApp products. And those folks engage on the support site or within our digital support realm as well.
Right. So if we think about their needs, they're looking after these appliances. They need quick and convenient access to the knowledge base to solve their problems. Obviously, they need to open cases. They need downloads so that they can keep these systems up to date and reliable. And then what we see as well is based on a serial number, they can see all sorts of information about their appliances. So maybe they've got a part order coming and they can ask about that part. There's licensing information, maintenance information that they need to be aware of these appliances. So if we look at the actual problems to solve, and this is taken from the essay, I'm not in presentation mode because I'm going to be switching between this slide and then some actual live demos. So the same as all of us, you have users, the rising expectations. We've touched on that. I solved my problem with a summary quickly in the shortest time possible, but at the same time we've got to deliver all of these new capabilities with constrained teams. You know, we don't have armies of developers coming in to and research units and everything else. We have, you know, often small teams to deliver and maintain these large websites. So you have if you mentioned in your essay, a large backlog and everybody wanting something, so it's difficult to prioritize. So we mentioned faster and more accurate self-service and support, improving the search, improving the chatbot, and giving access to defect information. Having transparent defect information was something that was really important for your users. So your strategy for that is to shift left, to solve as much of that demand as possible digitally, provide a holistic customer experience, infuse Gen AI into your channels, so into search and Elio, which we'll see shortly. And then user-driven site improvements, so really listening to your users, as I mentioned at the start, and then releasing on a very quick cadence with Agile, a very quick, that's the quickest I've seen in any case. We'll come to that as well. And then the API program that I mentioned that we'd seen a few years ago, you're expanding that, continuing to expand how APIs are used, the concierge, and some recommendation features. Laura, would you add anything at all to that slide?
No, I think that's so well said. Thank you. Yeah, that's pretty much what we had in our essay. I'm sure, again, I'm sure everybody on this call can definitely relate to these constraints and challenges, whether it's even just budgetary or it's resourcing itself. So yeah, it's been very interesting. And some term I've used probably with almost all of our essays over the years is ruthless prioritization. So we're very lucky in that there's a very clear shift left strategy, which has greatly identified what are kind of the key things that we as digital support organizations should be doing to optimize value, whether that's value back to the customer, the partner, or that's value from an ROI perspective back to NetApp. So yes, I think you really summarized it well. And these are kind of the key things we've been focused on the past year or so to continue to drive that forward.
So for the rest, in terms of the structure, I've prepared 4 slides that just get you introduced to the site so you can get used to what it looks like in the slides, and I'll explain that. And then there's 4 deep dives, the first 2 of which are Gen AI, then we have one about the bug reporting, and then one about the general ethos that I've seen through the essay and through interacting with Laura and judging the site. So the first key differentiator is the landing page. I've mentioned the target audience of these system administrators, and you've got this because you've got a lot of complexity and you've got lots of features on this page. You've done a really good job of making it easy to navigate. You've got those short labels across the top. They're 1 word, 2 words at most. So I really like that. You've got this I need, so just going in a clockwise direction, you've got a I need support on, so you've got the omnipresent search right at the top right corner where people would expect it. You have this accordion which you can hide or you can show with your 4 main channels for getting support, so it's always present on the site. You can chat through Elio, which we'll see shortly. You can chat with a live agent if you're logged in, that is, and you can open cases or you can phone. So the ones that are, well, you can see they're all black here, but they are grayed out if you're in the anonymous experience. So that's really good that you've got this customer focus, and you've got this accordion of things that are really convenient for the channels for people to access the support that they need. And then the other thing that draws your eye, obviously, is and it's an industry standard to have AI-based starting points at the bottom right corner. You have your Elio bot at the bottom corner, and it's unobtrusive. You can actually close this, and then it just becomes a very small blue widget at the bottom, so it's not covering the text. And I like the way you've done that. So that's really good. And then because of the needs of your users, obviously you have this company selector here. Obviously that would cover mergers and acquisitions. The reality of many companies nowadays is they're a patchwork of several different companies, and then even you can filter down by sites so that you would know you're in this company and you have these appliances at this site, which obviously filters things down nicely. And then I like the way you put, and this is a common theme for you, you put the user in control of a lot of things, or you're the application is very transparent with the user. So you don't have to show all of these widgets here. There's a manage widgets button here, which you can untick or untick the widgets that you want to see, so you get a personalized experience in this main dashboard. Laura, anything you would add to the main welcome experience?
I personally love the dashboard. I have a vested interest in it because that was something that I helped drive at the company. So I'm really excited you mentioned it. And one thing I will add is we did try to add some personalization here as well. It's very slight, but it does help users. Like if you're a partner and you have many customers, we do allow favoriting. So you're able to favorite a company and or favorite a site. You're also able to favorite things like bugs that you want to follow in the Bugs Online widget, for example. And you can even favorite products, and that can kind of help you if you're sort of trying to drill faster or get to something faster that you want to raise up to the top of your view. This page does allow you to do that as well. But yeah, I think you did a great job walking through the features.
Right. So next up, I wanted to mention, and we'll look actually at this live, but the search page itself is really uncluttered. They've reduced, NetApp have reduced the number of facets or search filters down to just 4, so it makes for a really easy search experience. And the distance between actually typing in a search term and then seeing your result, and in this instance, you've got a search summary right below your eye here. If I scrolled a bit further down, which I will do in the demo, you have these very structured search results with the minimum of information, just the necessary information, so people can scan and check quickly, is this a search hit I want to click on? So the title is in line with your color scheme. It's blue. You've got a short summary. You've got the product it's associated to, but just very uncluttered and just your traditional F-shaped search. So there's nothing unexpected for the users, and it's just all very intuitive and simple for them to see the search, to find what they need, and then actually consume quickly what they need in the search. Anything you'd add on this one, Laura?
Yeah, really, the idea behind here is if you think about, or if you're aware of how many products that NetApp has and how much content we have to support the various products, there's knowledge-based articles, there could be a defect information, there could be content like a documentation guide. I think what we've noticed in terms of even results, even early term, is that we're noticing a lot of people just coming to the generated search results, and they're able to see what they need. So we're not seeing them have to go elsewhere or search further. So it's kind of that zero sum that we're all looking for. So yeah, we have noticed that's really streamlined people's experience.
Right. I don't have the demo on creating a case, but I did want to mention, because it was particularly intuitive and structured. You really comes back to what I was mentioning before, putting the user in control and providing transparency. So from the very start, I'm on the second stage here with this page, and actually let me make it a little bit larger so you can see that and I can speak to it. So they've already selected their system, and then you can see all the details of the system that they've selected in stage 1. And now they're at the stage where they're entering some problem details. So you enter your summary, you enter a detailed description and a category and a priority. And then you get this recommended solutions panel open on the right-hand side, which is obviously trying to intercept users if you can possibly self-serve rather than going through the manual process and more, say, labor-intensive process of having a case. Then you've got your recommended solution panel here on the right-hand side. And I think this has evolved over the years. I couldn't remember whether there was an actual generated answer when the last time I saw the site, and then there was this time. So it just tempts you in to read it, but only shares enough. If you want to read more, you can then expand it. So there's a progressive disclosure there. You've got your citations well formatted, and then some search results as well. So top search results. Okay. So I just wanted to mention very clear process there, and the Eliobot is always available in case needed at any point if they decide that the case is or they decide they need something else. And then just lastly, before we look at the actual live demos. Another key differentiator for me is the product pages. So I mentioned this before about the Dell site. You have this very filtered way of getting the user down to the product. It's the serial number or the ID of the item. On the NetApp site, I think it's the API model that you've used or some chassis framework, and you've managed to build this targeted and focused per product page that users who they know their product, they can just go in, they can get access to the knowledge base. They can get access to documentation, the community, which, by the way, is also very well structured. I think there's something like 140,000 different posts in there, and it's very well monitored and very active. Downloads again is progressive disclosure, so you see the latest patch or the latest product, and then you can download earlier patches and earlier patches and releases if needed. I'm just showing the tools and security here, and then there's also bugs online, which we'll touch in the live.
Just to make sure they work.
Just checking. Was there a question I could hear?
I think maybe somebody was unmuted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, really quick on this one, if you don't mind me jumping in. So
Sure.
from a strategic perspective, when we went through to redesign our site, this was a number of years ago, there were a number of orientations we considered. Again, that focus of user experience and self-support is really critical for everything that we do. But the reasoning behind this is we kind of had an orientation of task. So you can see that on the dashboard when we were back on that page, that was an orientation of the key tasks that most people are doing as they come to the support site. Typically are things like checking your case, for example, might be in the top 10 things people do. So we wanted to frame that and surface it at the exact page you default to. But in addition to that, we have people who are orienting by information. They're trying to find product information. And so another orientation we have on the site, as you're showing here, is product orientation. You may or may not even own this product. You may want to just research this product or understand this product. And so we sort of had an informational avenue as well. And then if you own it, as you said earlier, you have the ability to kind of favorite that product or make sure it's at top and center of your view as well. So it's trying to make sure that no matter what your orientation is or your intent is or what problem it is you're trying to solve, we've kind of given you pathways to do that, whether it's following a task, wanting to go look at your cases, or following a task and wanting to create a case. And obviously there's a product associated with that, or you're trying to come in and just simply understand ONTAP, like a product itself. We've tried to make the site so it kind of adapts and is optimized for all of those scenarios.
Right. So we're about to jump into some live demos, but was there any question about any of the first 4 things that we've just gone through here? So the main landing page, the search experience, and including the AI powered generative answers, the case logging experience, and the product pages.
Oh, one quick comment while we're seeing if there's any questions is on the case creation process where generative AI is now enabled. Again, shout out to Derek and team on that. He worked really hard to get that to happen. It was a big effort. And this one actually only launched a few months ago. So in our submission this year, this feature actually was not even in our submission this year, but this is now a sneak preview of what will be in our submission for next year. So enjoy, everybody. See this 1 year in advance. So yeah, this is really an amazing an enablement. This is something that I know the team has wanted to do for a really long time. And again, that orientation of self-support, if we can help somebody resolve their issue and not have to continue going through the process of filling out a form or creating a technical case, that is an ideal scenario. And in fact, all of the metrics that we measure do look at things like customer effort score, like how easy it is to do business with us. We obviously look at CSAT, very similar to what Dell just shared as well. But we also are looking at things like cost per answer internally and understanding, was this person able to engage with us on a digital platform and essentially self-support without going to a person, which we would call assisted support. This is tying back to that shift left strategy that Dell was talking about and we're focused on as well, to making sure that we're enabling people to self-support. And again, I just want to share as well, we're also seeing from early feedback of this, it's only been out for a few months, people seem to be really finding this content very accurate and very relevant and very useful, which is, again, the whole key to all of this is making sure you're not just throwing content there for the sake of throwing content there, but it's actually useful in solving the problem. So just wanted to share that.
Great. Were there any other questions on the first 4 slides, the first features?
I see a question here. Christine, thank you, by the way. That's very kind. I consider us very much friends, so we'll happily look at each other and admire each other's awesomeness. Mary Beth is asking, is there any mnemonic device for Elio? Sarah, do you have any thoughts on that? If you want to put that in chat. I don't think we have that, but I will have Sarah see if she can give some feedback on that.
No, that's just his name.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so that's actually a really good segue into Elio. So it's the first of the items that I wanted to review and give a live demo of. So I'm on a. You can be anywhere on the site, as I mentioned. The Elio assistant is available to you at the bottom right corner, and as I mentioned, it's blue. It's unobtrusive. I can close this down. But let's fire that up and show initially what this is capable of. So the first thing you notice is it's got quite a broad scope. It's got 7 different categories of problem that it can help with. So reporting upcoming maintenance. So very important if you're in charge of one of these devices. Get technical support, which is the one we'll look at most from Elio. Chat with a live agent. Check your case status. Check a part status request. Again, very important if you're waiting for a part that you need to replace out in one of your arrays, and then get non-technical help as well. So that's great. Let's actually look then, and I'm going to throw 3 questions at this, starting with a simple question for basic troubleshooting. So I'm going to ask it the question. Oops. Sorry, did I check the wrong one? Not. So I will go back. I'm very sorry. Start over. Okay, I clicked the wrong one. I want to get technical support from Elio. Okay, so I'm prompted, and let me make this a little larger. So please type in your question here. I'll be happy to help. And I'm going to ask it, how do I reset the admin password on a NetApp ONTAP system? So a fairly straightforward question. And I like the fact that it's transparent with you. Please wait. I'm searching for an answer. You're not insecure about, is it working? Is it not? It's telling you what it's doing. You've got your nice 3 dots here while it checks all of its sources, ready to formulate an answer for you. And then you get your generated answer, and it's well structured. Similar to what I showed in the case logging experience, you can see the entire generated answer here. You've got very clearly marked citations with mouse over functionality, so you're very clear as a user. If you mouse over, there's a hover panel even here, and I can actually click on this to see the citation or the source where it came from. I can rephrase, which I believe this is. It's for me, so I would then rephrase my question if I want to, or I can see search results, or I can share some feedback. So was this helpful, yes or no? Let's just click the entire generated answer there. So you can see very structured, with bolding, with numbers, with formatted text, and really very easy to read there. Okay, so I'm just going to share some feedback to say it was helpful, and then I'm going to start over. So if I go for a more moderate question now, so get technical support from Elio, this time I'm going to enable auto support. Let me just try this. So how can I enable auto support on a NetApp cluster running ONTAP 9? And waiting while I'm searching for an answer. Okay, I can see the entire generated answer or some citations, so it's similar to the last one. And let's go for a more complex question now. So it's welcoming. It's actually calling me by my first name, or by my alias in this instance. Hello, Donnie, how can I help you? If I get technical support. So in this instance, I'm talking about a high latency issue with an AFF system. How can I diagnose whether the issue is related to network congestion or disk performance? So this tests the ability to guide you through performance analysis using various tools and network checks. So let's see how it handles that. So we have a generated answer here, and if I click on see the entire generated answer, again, it's very well structured. Here's how to check latency statistics. It's got your actual command to use. It's got bolding. It's got all of it's a step-by-step. And then it finishes with, by following these steps, you can effectively diagnose whether the high latency is due to network congestion or disk performance issues. So what strikes me is I can't verify if these answers are correct, but they certainly look correct to me. It was a very convincing implementation of generative AI for me. One thing I was wanting to demo just here, and I've not been able to reproduce it just now. Laura or Derek, perhaps you can help with this. Is there a situation where, I think I remember in Elio, there's a generated answer, but underneath there's a carousel of articles. So in case it's not confident in the answer, you can then see the articles in a carousel format, and it makes really good use of the space.
Yeah, that's correct. If it's not confident in generating an answer, it'll give you a set of search results.
Okay. And I'm sorry I've not been able.
Oh, sorry, Sarah, by any chance, do you have a search term, offhand that we could, or a prompt we could put in that would show that? Maybe we could come back to that if that'll take a minute to figure out.
Yeah, let me try a few and make sure I get a good one for you.
Thank you.
Okay. So that's the Elio virtual assistant, as I say. With the user experience, you spent a lot of time there making sure that the user is in control, but also knows at every point that what's happening. There's really good transparency. You have your feedback mechanism as well. And no, it's great. You've made really good use of what is a small space in the bottom corner. It's omnipresent. It's always there. And I would think users will make extensive use of this. Great. Any questions at all on Elio or anything, Laura, that you would like to add, or Derek?
Sure. I'm sure, Derek, feel free to jump in. I was just going to say really quickly, to go back to the strategy, and again, what we entered this year is not only the Gen AI is enabled now in our search within the support site. The Gen AI was also mapped to Elio. So what you're seeing is if you would search in the upper right where it says I need support on, or you are engaging in Elio, the backend is now tied together with that Gen AI, and it now is providing consistent answers across those two experiences, which again, I know we've talked about the easy button before on this call, and it seems very easy, but I know it's very challenging to do technically. And just wanted to add that in there. And I think Sarah provided a quick query. I can't find my LIF if you want to try that one.
Okay, let's try that. Is that correct?
It's LIF.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you very much for providing that. So here we go. Okay, so we've discovered one or more potentially useful documents, and this is what I'd seen and wanted to demo. Thank you, that's perfect. So you have this carousel. So you have horizontal navigation initially, and then you've made really good use of the space by left to right navigation, and then you can obviously open a new tab here. So you can see which of these 10 is useful to you. Yeah, and that was another thing that I'd mentioned in my scoring, is that it's really effective when it made me feel confident about it because it knew when it didn't have an answer, and that happened more often than I've just demoed now. It didn't have an answer, but it did have suggestions, and the suggestions look pretty good. And Laura, you did say it was just a standard configuration. You've left the settings as default, but it did seem to me that it had this confidence threshold, and it really used it very well, both in the search and in the Elio assistant. Great, thank you. So with that said, let's move on to the search then. So it's a similar experience. It's the second of the AI powered experiences. So I've asked a question here. So how do I configure SnapMirror replication between two ONTAP clusters for disaster recovery? So it's a natural language question going into search rather than just the 1 or 2 words that you often get. And let's see how it deals with that. So as I was mentioned before, you have the very uncluttered UI with just the 4 search facets. And let me just close down Elio for now. And then you have your generated answer here, and very structured, really well laid out here as a generative answer. So with numbered sections and commands or things that you can copy and paste and actually use, some additional notes, and then your citations following a similar design pattern to the Elio. And then if the generated answer isn't resolving your problem, then you have your search hits just below. And as I was mentioning before, you have this very clear layout of the search results. So you can see keyword highlighting, obviously the blue link to click on. You've got a small summary when it was last updated, and then what type of content it is. And then you can actually click on HTML version, or you can even search within that document, and then you have the link to it below. But very well laid out, very easy to see if this is a hit that I want to click on or not. Another thing I wanted to mention about the search is the feedback experience. So if I leave some feedback here, this panel pops up with a very structured way of leaving feedback, and you've asked a lot of very pointed questions, and I've got a question for you about this in just a minute, Laura. So is it the right topic? Is the answer free of incorrect or misleading content? Can it be answered by the documentation? And is the answer readable? You've got a link to a correct answer if needs be, and then some additional notes. It's always difficult to leave feedback because sometimes you just want the click as a positive hit or a negative hit, but then most of the time we would want people to engage with it. And I think you've done a very good job here of actually not asking too many questions, making it fairly easy to answer, and recognizing that sometimes people aren't sure. That's okay. And yes, you've given them a very structured way of engaging. So my question on this is does this then feed back into how you train your models and you train your AI based on that search term and based on the results that have come back?
Yes, all of the feedback is going back to from my understanding, our knowledge domain experts. Especially if we're seeing something where it's, obviously not the person's telling us it's not the right solution or answer. So we have knowledge domain experts at NetApp who help drive actually a lot of our content. They're also involved in our knowledge-based article information as well. So we have a whole process of a feedback loop that goes back into improving content. So as we were saying earlier, lots of different content may be pulled in to then generate the answer. So the goal of our company as a whole is to continue to improve that content, improve the information so that's the correct answers. So, and they're tied well to the search terms as well, what people are actually searching for. So they're tied together. So that's an ongoing iterative process that involves a lot of people, even beyond the support site team, a lot of knowledge domain experts and content experts.
Okay. And so typically, are the KDEs working on content itself, or do they get involved in the retrieval augmented generation, the AI itself, or even the LLMs and the prompt engineering? Or is it always on the content, or at least on the content first, and then they would try and, if not, then contact the technical teams in charge of the site?
Right. So Derek and Sarah, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, because I may be, but my understanding is, our team is owning the execution of the experience of the AI within support site, within digital support. Yes, so that's exactly what I was saying. So really the content part, what is the correct content is the part where we'd be involving our knowledge domain experts, our knowledge-based team, various people who may have specific product knowledge within NetApp. But we as the support site business team, we're responsible for the interface where somebody's engaging with the AI. And so I know Sarah in particular has worked for a really long time on LLM as well as Sarah's fellow team members on Elio. But I think there is a partnership that needs to be there that does make sure there's understanding between the two groups of what is needed in terms of how the content is structured or enabled to then optimize the experience. And feel free, guys, if I'm missing that, jump on in and let me know. Yeah, Derek brought up a great point. If it's actually the search engine itself, he would own that. Derek would own that. He'd work with his development counterparts to fix that.
That's great. Sounds like a very close collaboration between your KDEs and the technical team. Two more items or one more live demo, and then I wanted to just share some information about your strategy and how you plan releases, how you work through releases, how you prioritize, etc., which I thought was worthwhile mentioning. Was there any questions for Laura and team on the generated answers and how that's been embedded into search?
Question earlier, I just want to bring up real quick. So Daniel had asked, let's see, are there trends we're observing in terms of channel preference? So I don't know, James, ask you if you're on, but if you are, or if someone else knows the answer to that, if you could throw that in the results. And I'm sorry, I think, was that Derek you were going to pop in?
I was just coming off of mute. Thanks, Laura, and thanks, Derek. This has been super helpful. So I'm trying to understand from customer preference, because the behavior is changing thanks to their everyday experiences with ChatGPT and more conversational experiences. So because you are catering to these users who have search as an option, then they have generative, it's part of search, but generative AI, and then you also have Elio. So I'm trying to understand, like, what do customers prefer and where they're leaning towards these days?
Yeah, Derek put some metrics in there for you in the chat. So he was saying he thinks it's in the ballpark of 10-to-1 ratio, 30,000 searches per month through the standard search interface, 2,000 searches through Elio, which is, again, the chatbot virtual assistant experience. So again, as I mentioned earlier, when Peter was reviewing earlier the case recommendation panel, that's something that just came out recently. So we are still understanding that part of the, I would call that somewhat of a search experience as well within the case recommendation panel or a Gen AI experience there. But hopefully, Daniel, that answers your questions
Yeah.
with what Derek provided back in there. Yeah.
It does. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, our whole goal really honestly is to engage people in our digital platforms. That's really what our team is all about. To try to, again, from a cost perspective, from a company cost perspective, it's obviously less expensive for NetApp as people engage on a digital platform, but we also want to make sure that it is still a positive experience through measuring our customer satisfaction, that they have an ease of use. So again, there's this constant work I know Derek and Sarah and all of the KDEs and everyone touching content is doing to ensure that the actual content is relevant, useful, timely, all of those fun things to make sure people get the answers that they need.
Great. Any other questions before we have just one last look at that product defect information and how that's been exposed through the knowledge base? Okay, so for product defect information, I'll just go straight to a product page and then to the bugs online tab. As I say, it is available in the knowledge base. It's available as a content item in search. But I think it's fair to say that certainly the larger customers, they are interested in all of the questions and the knowledge base and the how-tos and really getting the most out of their products. But at the same time, when you're a very established customer, a large customer, very often you're interested in the bugs. That's the one thing that changes and the one thing that you're interested to apply once the fix is available. So this is the last tab in the products page itself. You can do a search for bugs. So for example, you can even do a wildcard search, and then you can filter quite easily. I like the way that you've got the ability to export to CSV, Excel. You can even email a CSV of these bugs to yourself. There's an ability to filter through here. So, for example, we can filter perhaps by. So here we go. So fixed inversions or found inversions, and then I can put my version in here. Found inversions, or you can just filter, sort alphabetically or numerically, I would presume, for these through the list of bugs. And then the bugs themselves, if I just click on one of these, so I wanted to mention how well structured it is. If if I was a user looking at a bug, I'd be impressed by when it was the way the information is displayed. So you can see here the title, the status, the severity of it, some information about the severity, which versions it's found in, when it was last updated, what the issue is, and the workaround. There are different ways of showing bugs. Some companies use knowledge base articles only, and then you just have a reference to it within the knowledge base article. But here you have this dedicated site for very well structured information about the bug. And as I mentioned, these are indexed as well, so they're available in the search page. And I presume that these are also part of the models for the generative AI answers. Laura, is there anything you would add to the?
Yeah, I would just say, for part of what we entered in the competition this year in our submission was just sharing the effort and activity that the knowledge base team did to make sure all of these, the bug and defect information were also accessible and available in knowledge base. So again, we're just trying to make sure, as I've stated a few times before, wherever somebody is, they're able to get the help they need. So this really helped folks who are already in knowledge base be able to easily get to this information if they were already in the knowledge base, because as you all may or may not be aware, we have separate websites. We have a community.netapp.com, a knowledge base or kb.netapp.com, and mysupport.netapp.com. My support is the NetApp support site. So I think all of the digital support teams are trying to work together to make sure we again have more of a seamless experience when people are trying to find answers, and that includes making sure the bugs are accessible on knowledge base. And I will say at the top of this page as well, as just a side note, as I mentioned before, there's an ability to actually follow a bug or favorite a bug that would then show back up on your dashboard when you log on. So that's kind of a handy thing. We do have people who, if we're thinking about our audience, a lot of folks are, on the ground troubleshooting and need to have that information quickly available to them. And as you can imagine, if you're supporting a whole lot of people, a whole lot of companies, a whole lot of products, you may have a lot of bugs that you need to follow. So this helps people kind of get to that faster within the support site as well, which is a side note, because that wasn't what we were talking about in the essay, but just kind of a cool feature.
Thank you, Laura, for keeping me on track there. I'm not looking at the presentation, although, and I can provide a copy of this for others afterwards. But yes, I've put together a slide for each of the things that have been that we've been walking through here. So what the observations were, and a quick summary. And I was wanting to mention about being able to favorite the bug, but thank you. Okay, so away from the site now, what I wanted to mention was the ethos that was very clear in the essay. NetApp, the support or their digital support strategy is really, it's fundamentally user driven. That comes across well throughout the site, but also in the many ways that they listen to their customers and then act on the feedback, the different structures they have in place. And I'll take you through a few of those just here. So they listen to customers, they listen to partners at really at every stage, conducting regular A/B and usability tests for the website itself, for the knowledge base, for the community, and through that A/B testing, they get this level of security that when they do a major production rollout, it's actually validated by real users before it goes out. I was envious of the customer council, and it seems that you get very direct and actionable feedback from your customer council. And we mentioned at the very start about the prioritization problems that you have, and they play an active role in helping you prioritize the enhancements that matter the most. You get continuous feedback through multiple channels. So you have website widgets. I didn't get a chance to show that. Your users get quarterly surveys. There are Discord forums, and you also have behavioral analytics through Glassbox. So it's this really multi-layered approach to gathering customer feedback and acting on customer feedback, and it's just great to get this more than triangulation, but very accurate insights about what your customers are needing. And in fact, the very last thing I mentioned about the bugs and the having the bugs in the knowledge base, having them searchable, having that structure, that itself came from user feedback. You mentioned that in the essay, so that was very impressive. In terms of agile, I mentioned at the start you have very quick releases. So I understand that you started with a quarterly release cadence, and then you went down to a month, and then you went down to, and correct me if I'm wrong here, every week. You release things every week now.
We do, yes. Having been at NetApp for 13 years, I can tell you, and I know I previously worked at Red Hat, so again, shout out to Red Hat. I was at Red Hat for 5 years before coming to NetApp, and Red Hat was great. They did have weekly releases at the time. I was working on redhat.com at the time when I was there. And when I came to NetApp, we were working at a quarterly release cadence, and that was, I'm kind of an agile-oriented person, and so that was a little challenging for my brain to comprehend. But the great news is over time, the company really has embraced and moved forward with increasing our release cadence. So yes, we generally have weekly releases. We do have some timeframes where we have IT blackouts, which is typically like quarter end, year end, things like that, where we would not have any releases. But generally, we are at least doing a keep the business running weekly release. And then for larger projects, we kind of handle those differently. But for the most part, minor types of things we can keep kind of iterating upon in those weekly releases, which is really helpful and helps us keep kind of up to speed on getting stuff out.
Oh no, you're absolutely right. And you mentioned in your essay about failing fast. So you test things and you learn things quickly and you refine it then in real time. These small iterative updates, I think generally they carry less risk than a big bang once a quarter. Having been involved in both, but well, at PTC we're 2 weeks, and sometimes that is a challenge to get everything ready for with all of the deployment activities that go around it. So I was really impressed by that you've been organized enough to do a weekly release. Great. yes, so just to mention about backlog prioritization again. So you base it on business impacts. You have people in this customer council helping you prioritize things, but you also are very data driven. So you have 3 KPIs, and I think you've mentioned them already. CSAT is very important to you, and you're doing very well in the CSAT. I believe it's 100%. Your customer effort score and your cost per answer. So you've got the, if you like, the acumen to you're thinking about it from the business perspective, but you're also thinking about it very much from the customer perspective. So you make these changes in Agile, and then you can see how it impacts your KPIs. So that's great. So on that topic of being data driven, as I mentioned, your CSAT, your customer effort scores are very high as well at 95%. You also have monthly peer reviews by leadership so that you can identify trends and gaps and opportunities and course correct as needed. Advanced analytics tools, so you're using Adobe and a mixture of, well, dashboards in Power BI with Adobe Analytics, so you can determine if, for example, the generative answers that you have in the search are reducing click-through rates. Are they, is it indicating that users are finding their answers quicker and more efficiently? That was great. And then just to mention finally the continuous improvement and best practices that you have here. It's clear to me from your essay that you invest in your team's ongoing education, development. They attend webinars, they attend conferences, and they go to consortium events. Sorry. You certainly stay current with the latest trends in digital support. You're not afraid to engage consultants if you need some advice on your strategies or your processes, so you keep those up to date. And then KCSV6 is, so you're following the KCSV6 methodology, and since following that, you've seen really tangible results with a tenfold increase in the publish rate and a 75% increase in traffic. So your customer satisfaction for your knowledge base is 4.5 out of 5, which is absolutely fantastic. Okay, so that was the end of the presentation from my side. Laura, is there anything else that I've missed there that you wanted to talk through?
No, I just wanted to do a quick shout out to Julie Lynn, who's on the call, who she and her team led the Bugs Online activity. So just to recognize her. And then Padma Prasad is not on here, but she leads Knowledge Base. And she and her team have done an exceptional job of driving a multi-year strategy to get to where they are with KCS as well as Knowledge Base itself. It's been a huge activity. So kudos to everybody. Also, thank you, Derek and Sarah, again, for all your input today on the call and helping to provide your amazing expertise on the answers. Thanks, guys. But no, I think that's all I've got. And so are there any questions from anybody else in the chat or otherwise? We're happy to answer them.
No question, but I just really loved how you did the sort of like low threshold confidence defaults to search thing. We saw a lot of interoperability between search and Gen AI, generative search as well. And so it was just a really lovely feature. It was really cool to see you show. I told our team, I was like slacking our
Awesome.
team, like, watching them show it off. It's really cool. So,
yes, again, go Derek, woo, and team. Yeah, thank you. We appreciate that. And again, I just will say, I know it's been such hard work to get there and a long time coming. So I know the team is really excited. It's finally out there and launched. So thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for the opportunity for us to chat with you today as well. And I'm happy to chat with anyone offline if needed. Just reach out.
So Peter, how about a quick summary? If you had to pick 3 reasons that were the primary reasons why you think that NetApp won an award this year, what would you say?
Certainly the level to which they listen to their users, that came across. And while I was judging the site, I looked through the various ways that you share feedback. I read very carefully the essay and how you're tracking users and understanding their success, and then tying that to your own KPIs, which are also very user focused. I just see this relentless, continuous improvement. I can see a lot of energy in the team, not just this year, but in previous years. So I've seen the progress of the site, and that was it's always been impressive to me, how innovative the NetApp team is, and just how hardworking the team is. And then finally, what was just mentioned, the confidence threshold in your AI experiences is something we really, I think, across the industry need to get right. AI isn't perfect, and maybe it never will be, but having that confidence threshold that only shows hits or search hits when it doesn't have the answer gives confidence back to the user. Your faith in the system increases more if you've seen it's hit a threshold. It said, yeah, don't have an answer, but I do have these things for you. I think that's great.
Well, I'd like to add one final comment from me, and that is that I've mentioned earlier about how scores keep going higher. NetApp is one of the top 3 companies typically every year. I mean, for 8 years now, but they're often the #1 scorer. Not always, and others have been in top scores from year to year. Red Hat, Dell. But NetApp, I just noticed that they seem to be really the company, if I had to pick one that I thought was pushing the state of the art, it would be NetApp. And all these award winners are worthy, and they all are pushing state of the art collectively. But NetApp is the one that seems to be driving those high scores most consistently. Not, like I say, they're not always the highest score every year. Sometimes, but when they're not, they're usually second or maybe third at the worst. So, they really are helping to move the industry and everybody forward, because, of course, everybody is chasing everybody else. And as I've been to Raleigh. They're in Raleigh. Red Hat's in Raleigh. Well, actually, they're in Research Triangle Park, but it's not very far. So you're all part of a very important community that's moving things along. I expect to see dramatic increases next year because of AI, and we're going to spend all day tomorrow talking about it. But and we'll have one of NetApp's people, not that's been speaking today, but who's been listening in and has weighed in comments. James Askew will be talking about their use of AI and really kind of trying to paint a perspective on AI development overall and how it's been tracking over the last decade or so. So I'm looking forward to hearing his presentation. So Peter and Laura and the team, thank you very much. And I'm going to ask you now to mute your devices. And Mary Beth, Christine, and Melissa, now you can turn yours on.
Hello, hello. We're very happy to be
Hello.
here with Mary Beth.
So
Yes.
here's another very deserving team. Red Hat actually won a special award a few years back on contribution to the industry. How much you share in your essays, which we publish all the award-winning essays or entries every year in our trends report, which this year was released yesterday. So if you didn't notice that and you want to get a copy, it's free to ASP members and it's available for purchase. I think it changes every year. I think it's $400 right now, which is not a lot. It's over 100 pages, has all of the essays or entries from all of the award winners, as well as my observations and trends. So you can read that, and if you want to really study up and do your homework on how to have an award-winning website, that'd be a great way. But let's look at the next one. So Mary Beth, you made 2 nominations this year for special awards. This was one of them, and I'd like you to sort of kick us off.
Absolutely. Well, welcome to the review of the Red Hat site. And I would like to say, I think this might be the 15th year in a row that Red Hat has won. Is that correct, Al?
That sounds right to me. I kind of lose track after 12, but yeah, I think it is 15.
I watched the 2024 review in which we got to watch the throwback to the 2010 site. But yeah, you were saying it was 14 years, so this would be 15, which is a very impressive accomplishment. 15 years in a row. That's some commitment to doing the ASP every single year.
Speaking of impressive, I just want to add a little something. Mary Beth has not only been a judge for us for quite a while, but she's also chair this year of the Members Advisory Board. So if I had to pick an MVP, Mary Beth, you and also, you know, I beg and plead and threaten and coerce and do all kinds of things to get judges to make nominations. So you were forthcoming right away with 2. And then I don't accept, I mean, we've had nominations that didn't result in an award because, to be fair, I need to run your nomination past the other judges from that site. And if I don't get a majority of the judges, then we don't make an award. But both of your sites that you nominated were also agreed to by the other site judges. So good job. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I hope you give me nominations again next year. And hopefully some of the other judges don't make me beg, fly, and do all those other crazy things to get nominations.
I'm a rule follower. You say make nominations, I'm going to make nominations, but I was legitimately impressed. My nominations for Red Hat, like I made 2 of them, and I believe we won both of them. Correct, Al? Both things?
That's absolutely correct. And that, I say it's kind of rare for, I mean, not every time a judge makes a nomination does the company get an award because of our process. But I've never seen a judge have 2 nominations accepted before.
This year, 2025, it happened.
Yep, that's right. So take it away.
All right. So welcome to the review of the Red Hat site. I'm Mary Beth Alexander. I am the CEO or Chief Executive Owl at Knowledge Owl. We are a small bootstrap SaaS company. We make knowledge-based software. And I've been a judge for the ASP for the last 10 years. And then I'm also chairing the board this year. I'm really excited. This is the first time I've been a judge for 10 years. This is the first time I'm actually presenting at one of these. So I'm excited. It's my first time. Luckily, it is not Christine's first time. And Christine is here to help me, along with Melissa, to present the Red Hat site. So Christine, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, my name is Christine Bryan. I'm a product manager at Red Hat. And until very recently, or until February, I was the product manager of the whole customer portal that we're here to talk about today. And then in February, I transitioned to working a lot more on Ask Red Hat, which is our conversational search AI offering that is hosted on the portal. And I transitioned my previous responsibilities to the amazing Melissa Bent, who is joining us today as well.
Melissa's here. Hi, Melissa.
Hello. Yes, I'm a recent addition into the product management team at Red Hat. I actually, until June, which is when I actually took over the role, I was on the engineering side. So one of the applications that we are going to talk about today, Offline Knowledge Portal, I was a small contributor to that project as well on the engineering side, and now I'm on the product management side as well. So I have a breadth of knowledge on the portal, so I should be able to help if there are any questions about deep background on things that can help with that too. But I also wanted to call out just real quick that we do, for our presentation today, have Jared Sprague on this call with us, and he was the lead engineer on the Offline Knowledge Portal. And he's very excited about being able to talk through any questions you guys have there too. So he was able to join the call with us today too.
I am very excited for this because, guys, we're going to get to take a break from talking about AI for a hot second, which is going to be great. But for first, I'm guessing most people on the call know who Red Hat is. But for those who don't, Christine, you want to do the high level like elevator pitch of like what is Red Hat and what is the customer portal for?
You bet. So sure, this is how I explain it to elderly relatives, which is I say when you go and use a computer, you know, there's like the thing you see on the screen, and then there's like the metal that is actually in the computer. Red Hat is in the middle. And we, like lots of things, sit on top of what we make, and we sit on top of other things, and we make it easier to build things. The official explanation, of course, is we're one of the world's leading open source engineering and technology companies. We're most known for our products, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, Red Hat OpenShift, Red Hat Ansible. Those are sort of our 3 largest platform products. And they are, you know, they are tools for engineers who are doing necessarily complex jobs. They give you a lot of power. They give you a lot of freedom. And they put a lot of control in your hands, and it relies on the power of upstream communities and contributors from all around the world to make these things a part of the sort of secure open source supply chain, and basically deliver something that is better and faster and more awesome than anything in the universe. That's probably not the marketing language that I should have practiced before this, but we're gonna go with that for today.
All good. Awesome. So what did you say? The people who use your support site, which you call your customer portal, correct?
Yep, absolutely.
They're primary engineers, pretty technical audience.
I believe the last presenter said cranky sysadmins, and I felt that in my heart, I think, during that. But so they are various kinds of engineers, primarily either system administrators, developers, that kind of thing, who are trying to get a job done. And so they come to us for help with that job.
Very cool. All right. So without further ado, let's start talking about the support site. So again, this was your 15th. This is your 15th award. So would this be your 16th submission? Maybe? It's been a while.
Sure. I wasn't here
2010.
then.
It was before your time.
Yeah.
But you've been doing this for a while. And one of the things we talked about in the essay portion, which your essay was gorgeous, by the way, just really well formatted, lovely to read. I highly recommend going through and reading the award-winning site's essays, even from past years, because you can learn a lot, like the evolution of the site in a short amount of time. Years of knowledge in an afternoon of reading. One of the things we talk about in them, and then I'm always really interested to know, is like what your top 3 challenges you were trying to address this year. Now, if any business can just address one challenge in a year, one major challenge, I think that's amazing. But we're looking at 3. So you mentioned in the essay the 3 challenges. One is how to deliver value with AI. I promise we won't be talking all about AI, but like obviously, it is 2025 and it's really hard to have a conversation about anything without AI. But the other 2 challenges, one was security and compliance, and one was investing in the right things, even if they're not glamorous, which that really, to me, I believe is sort of the focus today of what I really took away and why I was just so blown away by your submission, by your site, by the experience, and really fed it into the awards. So would you talk a little bit about the challenges that you were experiencing regarding, security and compliance, and how that sort of relates into the maybe unglamorous work that you've invested in?
Sure. Well, how about I just tackle the last one, because that was something that really motivated us, which is investing in the right things, even if they aren't glamorous at first, right? So Jared, who is here today, he lived this, because the offline knowledge portal was sort of a very small project, but for about 2 years. And sometimes we had trouble. I helped launch it. It was really wonderful. I loved it immediately. And what it does is it lets you, like if you're working in a secure location right now and you're supporting anything, it's really common practice for people in these secure locations to have to like drive to the nearest coffee shop, look up a bunch of stuff, write down everything they can, and then drive back. And that is also inherently insecure in like a completely different way. And so I used to work for the state of Massachusetts. And so I knew people who had to do this when they were trying to work on state projects. It was so frustrating. So to me, it made obvious sense that we should work on it. But it wasn't glamorous. It wasn't a product, like it wasn't like a new Linux thing. Although when we spoke with some of the folks on the RHEL team, they did say that it was a pizza they didn't order, but they were delighted to eat once it was actually launched, right? But it took a lot of like years of quiet work to make that work. Years of investment in our data lake and our information sharing infrastructure paid off when we started to work on AI. I'm sorry, I took it to an AI place. But my point is that like you know, these teams, the teams that work on supporting support, you know, and not just support, but all the teams that are a part of our larger customer portal, including like security and all these things, you know, we sort of have routinely advocated for big investments in things that don't chase the shiny check marks of like whatever is current and hot. Our AI offering is actually unusual for us in that regard. You know, and so that conversation and figuring out how to make things that don't quite fit in but are very, very important, understood to our stakeholders, that's a real part of what makes the customer portal be successful. If you want to talk though about security and compliance, Melissa, I was going to invite you to talk a little bit about product security and the compliance stuff if you wanted to.
I came in on that one. I came in from the engineering side. So because you instigated the project and I was on the engineering side of that project. So, but I will say that one of the things that paved the way to that experience being what it is that we'd actually already invested a lot in like a systematic process. So when we create new applications or new features, we work really hard to not recreate things we've already done, so that we're not wasting development cycles on things that we will then have to support separately from, you know, basically try to use things that we already have. So we ended up able to use existing infrastructure, which is really great because it, again, paved that way. So then the only decisions we actually had to make was like, what is the data model going to be like and how do we want to present it, instead of having to solve all these engineering issues along the way. Working at a place like Red Hat, it's quite large and it's across the entire world. So you can those kinds of things can introduce delays that can make a project take years instead of months. So any way we can simplify that decision-making process will automatically help us to produce something that customers can use more quickly, like get it to them more quickly. And the other thing that I believe it did, and I've seen this actually in action, is that our teams that were providing that information, now they don't have to sit there and answer questions from people all the time. People can just look it up. It's the self-service, self-solve like workflow that is now present for anyone who needs to look at it, and they're already iterating on that experience today. So like solving those types of like the siloed knowledge that exists inside of one person's head is now available for people to use, not just for self-solve, but also in things like Christine's going to talk about today for Ask Red Hat, for our AI models. Anytime the data is structured and systematically available, then you can use it in a systematic way. So it's a big win all around, like for process and for data availability.
Yeah. And I was just going to add on to that and say it's a little bit like we made a compliance almost like a knowledge type. It's not, because it's not in the knowledge base, because it requires higher security, because you can't just let everyone edit it, because you can't claim that something has a compliance that it doesn't. And we're seeing a really strong uptick in questions about like, where is our data stored, data sovereignty, like all of these different types of things. So it made it critical to solve this last year when we needed to invest in the right thing, even though it wasn't glamorous at first. It all comes together, Mary Beth. The whole story.
I was going to say, it's like a mantra, like you're like investing in the right things, even when it's not glamorous. And like, while the world is like, we need to do AI, we need to do this. You did do that. But at the same time that you were doing AI, you created an offline version of your support site for people to use. And you created this whole new compliance site to solve what was a big problem. I think you put it at, you did an analysis, and it was something like $200 million potentially lost in 2022 due to the compliance questions not getting answered in a timely way.
But yeah, it was because it was so slow to get those answers. Yeah, and like we had great people working on the compliance team, right? It wasn't a lack of knowledge or staff. It was just so topsy-turvy in terms of how people could self-support and what was needed there. And so we've made, as Melissa said, we've made like a real difference for them, for other Red Hatters trying to find this stuff out, and for customers and partners looking for it.
Right, which, I mean, those are like two major things that, like, you think about it, it's not sexy, it's not AI, but you're solving a huge problem, especially like with the compliance stuff. It is, I see it even in small orgs like ours, it is a big portion of our support is answering security and compliance questions. And if people can't self-serve, you're paying for that. Like, people are answering the same questions over and over again, and people can't self-serve. So
I will say too that the questions that we get a lot are, how does this fuel AI? How does this push forward, push the envelope in these areas? And again, like you said, it's not the thing that is like sparkly and shiny, but I say this all the time. Christine's heard me say it at least 10 times this week, probably. But basically that, your AI is only as good as your data. And if your data is not available, your AI can't access it. So if your AI models that you're building can't access the data that's in someone's head, then it can't answer questions about it effectively or authoritatively. To be authoritative, and sometimes that gets a little scary, and you don't want it to do that either. But at the same time, like, this is the investment in data structure is essential to having fantastic AI experiences. And if we don't invest in those data structures all along the way, then we have no hope of having a fantastic AI experience.
Yeah, I think actually, Christine, maybe it was in last year's presentation, was talking about how you had to standardize all of the product names across all of these different documents so that we could have that unified search experience. And like, that is not a glamorous project, but like, you invest in the right things so that search and AI could have that data better. Like, that's a big investment.
Melissa actually built that in her last role as the architect for the portal, because it was, we didn't try and standardize every content. We actually standardized them at sort of like a central point, and we have like a customer portal product data master list now, that, or main list now, that we like curate, and it maps how customers ask us for stuff against like the actual stuff everywhere. That was one of our features last year. You really did your homework, Mary Beth.
I did. I mean, it's really exciting. So I promise we're not going to talk all about AI, and I actually want to start talking about like the opposite of AI, which is offline access to help. So Jared, if you're here, if you want to come on, I'd love to talk about the problem a little bit. So essentially, you have these enterprise platforms, like you're the metal that sits in the computer, and a lot of people who are using this are in what we call a disconnected environment. Do one of you want to like talk a little bit about like what disconnected environments are and what that looks like in practice?
Yes, absolutely. Can you hear me? All right. So yeah, of course. So there are a lot of customers who work in disconnected environments. A lot of different industry sectors. So we have public sector. There's a ton of people that work in these air gap networks. They're called high side networks. A lot of you have like heard of SCIFs before. Basically, there's no access to the public internet. So your online support site, they're not going to be able to get to it. And it's not limited to just public sector. So finance and healthcare and higher education and research labs and private defense contractors. All of those people, they all have some sort of air-gapped lab, and people work in those. And none of them can access the internet. So like Christine said earlier, the way that they have gotten information to help them out inside those places is they either leave and go to the local Starbucks on the Wi-Fi, read a document, or maybe write it on a notepad, and then go back, right? And that's terrible because for a bunch of reasons, but also like there's no copy and paste. You can't copy a command. You have to write it down or memorize it, right? And then the other thing is printing PDFs. That's another way. That's like been the traditional way for a very long time to bring in knowledge to disconnected networks, is like through printing PDFs or whatever. Like export your docs or just export your site and then print it out, and then you can bring it in, right? So we wanted to do better than that. Like we wanted to have a full experience. Like our whole support site is much, is at least the core parts of it brought to where the customers are in the disconnected environments. So that was that's the problem basically. Like, and so we also wanted to like go even beyond just bringing the content to them. We wanted to have the whole experience where links wouldn't be broken. So we've heard like a lot of a lot of people will export their online site and import it into a disconnected network, but in all the documentation, all of those links are all pointing to back to the online site. So they're all broken, right? So we wanted to make the links work as well, and we also wanted to make searching work, and all of the thing all fully integrated into like a single image container appliance that you can ship anywhere, that can run anywhere offline, doesn't require an internet connection. I could even run on the edge on like small devices, even just like someone's laptop or whatever. So that's a problem statement. That's a little bit background.
I'm really excited to actually, I heard someone has it up and we're going to actually get to see it.
I was going to say, I feel like we
You guys
should
want
have
to
been
see
sharing
this?
it
Let's
time.
share it. Let's
I
share
will
it.
share it. Here we go.
Yeah, let's pull it up
screen.
because
All right.
I don't think Jared said this when we put this out there at Summit. We got a Reddit post about this.
Oh,
from
I have the Reddit post up. Like I was going to share it. So I was like, you did something that is correct when people are gushing about how excited they are on Reddit.
Yeah. Reddit is usually
gushing.
a place of negativity. And people were like, this is my favorite thing that happened this year from Red Hat.
Amazing.
And
Yeah.
and at that event, people would come up to us and be like, one guy literally came up to the booth, yelled, "I feel seen" twice, left, came back the next day to say thank you with like his grown-up words. Because that, like the way this came out, and Jared, when we were working on it, I used to say this, is that like, if we were to present this to 10 people, 9 of them are not going to care. And one of them will pound their desk and demand that this be gotten for them. Because that one person, that 1/10 of your team that needs it, when like the customer won't give you the good Wi-Fi and you're like trying to angle your laptop out a window, like this is what solves that problem too. And so it's been really lovely to see the reception it got. But Jared has it up.
Yes.
Let's
see it.
Actually, what I have up right here is the online portal. So this is like a very common use case with our support partners, and a customer will open up a case, the support person fills it, like finds a solution on our knowledge base that answers their question exactly what they need to do. And they'll put that link back into the response of the ticket. And they'll say, go and read this K-Base article on the customer portal. It'll tell you exactly what you need to do. And this is like opening a firewall with port range with firewall CMD. And that doesn't help the people in the disconnected sites. So they would get a screen like this. They're like, that's great, you sent me a link, but I can't click on it. It doesn't help me, right? So what we have over here is I've got, that's where OKP, or we call the offline knowledge portal, comes in, or OKP for short. But it's like I said earlier, it's a single image container appliance. So I have it loaded here into Podman Desktop. All I have to do is launch that container. I just started it. Now if I go back to my local host with that exact same path, boom, there's that exact article. But now it loads offline, no internet connection at all. And it looks almost exactly the same as our online portal. Like it's basically a mirror image of it, but it's offline. And then, like I said earlier, there's the links work, searching works. So that was like a typical use case, but I'll just give you a quick high level, like the feature overview of it included in it, because it's not the entire customer portal. It's just the core, like that make up the most commonly used content types. So we have our K-Base solutions and articles. We've got all the product documentation. So all Red Hat product docs are here. We've got CVEs, our CVE database. We've got our Errata database, all the errata, and like I was saying earlier, like these links that normally would be broken, like actually work in the context of the image rather than just staying broken, right? So that errata I was just looking at had a link to a documentation page, and that documentation page actually loaded. So let me just, like, this is like an overview page of, we have what's included in the image. So we've got our entire K-base, over 150,000 solutions, all of our documentation titles, 10,000 documentation titles, 300,000 CVEs. So it's got a lot of content. And since it's an image, it's immutable, right? It's a snapshot in time. And it doesn't automatically get updated like the online portal. To get an update, you have to go pull the latest image. And then you have to take that image and then move it into your disconnected network. And just so people who have the image know, we timestamp it when it was extracted, like when the content was extracted. So whenever you're looking at this in your disconnected network, you can know like how current the content is, or whether or not it's getting stale, if you need to go and pull an update or not. So we got all that information contained within the image itself, so you always know how current it is. So
hey Jared, can you show her the URL treatment you did when something isn't available? I think that's a really cool touch that Michael put in.
That's another
You should at least call out as a UI element.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is something Michael Clayton worked on a lot. He's we kind of co-created the knowledge portal together, but the offline knowledge portal. So let me find, I'll just open up one of these erratas. So it'll probably have a broken link. Let's see. Yeah.
It had them at the bottom. Yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, here's a perfect one right here. So there's a lot of links to external sites that we don't control. Like here's a link to Quay.io, which we obviously won't. We know ahead of time that in a disconnected network, that's not going to work because it's an internet external site. We're not going to have it embedded. So we just put a strike through and a little note here that says content from Quay.io is not included. And that's just a little quality of life time saver for the disconnected net users who they do get a lot of like exported sites in their offline network. So all the links are broken, but they they don't know that until they click on it, and then they get a page that doesn't load. So we kind of tell them ahead of time. So we just save them some time. Hey, this is not going to load. We don't include this one. But the ones that do work are available to click.
I was going to say, and in a nice way to tie it back to AI, like Mary Beth was trying to prevent, because we spent over 2 years building this experience where we took all of our content, we had it work off of our like mature data lakes and our various content transport networks that live behind the scenes. Then we brought it into this one place and we represented it. And that representation can go into like offline spaces. It sets us up for success with Red Hat's on-prem AI products, who can now make use of this as their RAG layer. Yeah. So it is, we managed, because we invested in the right thing when it wasn't glamorous, it is paying off in the glamorous world of AI. And not even just Ask Red Hat, the customer portal's AI that humbly helps our existing users, the fancy AI that we are selling to people. And I think it's really worth calling out that it's like a keystone thing that is enabling other things downstream of it.
This is wild, because I mean, if you just said, hey, we're going to work on this offline side, people would be like going back to like, this is the manual that you print, and like going back like 30. It feels like going backwards, but really it is enabling you to move forward in like an amazing way. Like this is like full circle from like going from AI to offline to like even better AI.
When I wanted to say too that a lot of the work that like Michael and I had a lot of conversations, because when I was doing lead engineering on the live portal side, he would come to me and be like, these articles look weird. He'd like flag up things for us to review and fix that were wrong with our knowledge portal, like with some of our articles that were maybe older, or were using like non-standard markup language or whatever. Then it allowed us to go in and fix them. And again, making that data layer a beautiful place, so that as we move forward with whatever comes next, as I like to say, then we come in with a better data structure to begin with. And I wanted to also, Jared, you're showing this off your laptop right now.
Yeah.
But you can also, like, they can install this and host it on their network, and then everybody can access it through like an internal network URL too, right? Like if they give it a network.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a container image, so a lot of the customers have will have a Red Hat OpenShift cluster in their disconnected network, and then they can deploy the offline knowledge portal to that, and then give their internal users the URL, and off they go. They got access offline. So and totally, like, and the thing that, like what Christine was saying, this is a perfect fit for RAG, because we have, like, when we didn't realize it when we were building it, but when we built it, and we built it as a single container image that has all of Red Hat's core knowledge in it, like here's all of the documentation products that we have that can be run offline. It's like the perfect fit for RAG, because now we've got all the content, it's an image, and it runs offline. The only thing that's missing is the vector DB, which we've created. Now we've created one off of it, and we add that to the image, and now we can use it for RAG. So it actually worked out perfectly.
So I put my hand up because we could talk for an hour just about the offline knowledge portal, but I know there's other stuff we want to touch on.
Yes.
I will also point out what Jared mentioned there about using it for RAG is technically against our terms and conditions. So for any users out there who are thinking that you could grab this in there, please give us a little bit more time to build that as a feature. Right now, you should not do that, please.
All right. Well, we can always come back to it during the Q&A section. And if you have questions about the offline portal, you can drop them in. But yes, we should move on to some of the other key areas. So one of the other things about the support submissions for the best support sites is, what are the 3 key areas that you want the judges to focus on? The offline portal, knowledge portal, was one of them. So we have looked at that. And there were 2 other areas. I'm going to save AI for last. We're going to go to compliance next. So I'm going to share my screen, and let me see if I can get to the correct site. Let's go here. I'm going to pull up a section of the Red Hat customer portal. And Kristen, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe this area of your portal is public. It does not require a login, or not all of it, the actual main part of it.
I believe so, yes.
Yes. So this was one of the 3 areas, and this was one of these places that you invested in. And we talked a little bit earlier about the problem. So a lot of people were asking questions about compliance, about security, and the delays in them being able to get that information was like, we earmarked it at like 200 million delays over the year of 2022. So obviously, if you can do that math, you can figure out like, hey, like this is a problem we should probably address. And this is one of those things, is like, how do you invest, in the right things, right? That might not seem glamorous, but they're going to pay off. So when did you actually start saying like, hey, this is something we need to flag? Was it like a couple-year project too, like the online, or was this a little bit? Yeah,
it was a little bit. So Melissa, I don't know if you want to talk about it after I was there for the origin, but I think she'll probably handle some of the like current questions. But for the origin of it, product security brought it up actually, because they were the ones who were kind of feeling the pain from this not being in place. And they were working with we have sort of like a rapid response team that builds like little mini apps that like kind of go up there, and they happen to know each other. So it was like a personal connection between a person in product security and a person on that team. And they were like, we should build a little mini app to solve this. And I said, if it's a $200 million problem, we probably should build a real thing, like a quite large and robust app. So this actually went through 2 phases, because we built the sort of immediate app. We did it almost as like a POC and got it out there, and we learned a little bit from it. And then we sort of flipped into making this a major content type on the customer portal, because it required a treatment that would support each piece of compliance as its own piece of content that was findable in search, which then again plays into what we were able to do with it in AI later. And at some point, we'll probably tell Jared, like, now is the time. You should add it to the offline portal as well, you know? So that is kind of where this came from. Is product security originated it. They thought it was a very small project. We actually kind of went back to them and said, we think it's actually quite a large project. Can we do the real thing with you? And they were quite pleased about that. And they were fantastic partners all the way through.
Yeah, you said, I was reading, I think in the submission essay, you said that the compliance info used to be one knowledge base article. That was very long.
One gigantic knowledge base article, which was extremely hard to, like, it wasn't really findable or searchable. Like it looked, you know, if you like looked in it for, like, if you didn't use the exact right word, you wouldn't find it. And so this takes all of that work. This whole compliance team essentially maintained one article with the entire output of their whole team on one web page. And obviously they needed something more robust. They had already way outgrown one page. And so it was really good to build this out for them.
Yeah, so now this content is SEO optimized as well. So people can just ask, like, is this Red Hat product blank certified or blank compliant? And they can just start asking the questions. And this is indexed not only for, you know, Google search and AI, but also like your own Ask Red Hat. I'm guessing your support team and the people answering that was feeling the pain before can answer these questions much quicker now. And it's really accessible since, you know, you can get to this content easily. Yeah, and I think this is another one where, I mean, we're talking about investing in the right things. This took a while, and this turned into a much bigger project than you originally thought it was. But I think that there's often those types of things that you don't necessarily see as support problems, because like the people maybe experiencing the pain are not the same people, like, that are dealing with like the troubleshooting type questions, but that there are, like, I think industry wide, like there's tools coming out that you can just build what people are calling trust sites, right? Like trust sites. And this is essentially one of those like trust sites, but it's not this separate thing that you need to know about. It's built into your support ecosystem. So again, with that enterprise search, all of this content is now accessible to anybody using the support site versus having to go to this different area that a different team manages.
And we actually have a trust site, and it's over on www.redhat.com. And so that content is not available to people coming over there. And really, it's written entirely differently. A lot of their information is sort of designed to sort of like convince you to do a thing, and we want to make sure that you are like supported in your journey to like evaluate and purchase any of our products, or like reach out for a job or get a certification. Whereas, you know, the cranky sysadmin profile would kind of be irritated by that kind of content. If they came in and they were like, I need to know your FedRAMP compliance products, they're not going to want a whole page that explains about how great FedRAMP is and why you should.
They just want the white paper.
They want the list. They don't want the white paper, and they don't want to log in for it. And we're, you know, this was one of the choices to make this completely available to users outside. So, but we did follow up later and have like some cross-linking over from like the trust site to here, so that if you end up over there, you will not be lost, I believe.
Very good. We don't like getting lost. All right.
There are also some new features coming out that we're planning on this section that will require login, but they won't prevent you from seeing the publicly available things. So like it'll say, you know, if you want this thing, then you need to log in and have subscription, but you'll still be able to see all the publicly available information like you see today. So we'll be adding.
That's for next year. Next year's application, Melissa.
It's
neat preview.
But no, so, and again, not to hit this topic over and over, but truly, every time we onboard a new data set, it's food for AI. So it's like it all benefits. It benefits every part of our ecosystem. It's not just the fact that it's solving this problem, which it absolutely is, but it's also paving the way to solve future problems that we have not yet have questions that, or we haven't even asked those questions yet necessarily, or maybe somebody is and it just hasn't become a big enough question that it's gotten to us yet. But those are the kinds of things that I really enjoy, is when you can solve multiple problems with one thing. And onboarding this application, you can see the product list on the left-hand side. That product list is coming from the exact same product list that's running the documentation website that Jared was showing you, even in the offline portal, but even in the live portal as well. And our product pages that we have on the portal today, that list is exactly the same. And it doesn't seem like, well, yeah, it's the same, but these are all these are different like internal systems that have to sync with each other, right? So it's like having this kind of unification at the data layer is a really big deal for larger companies like ours. So being able to solve these kinds of problems ahead of when they're needed is really nice. I mean, this one, I think we could probably make the case for it was needed before we made it. But AI obviously has exploded in the last few years, so having this data model already present is a big deal too.
Rhett, and I love the story of both of these things, which I would put them in the bucket of investing, right? And like investing in the right things that might not seem glamorous. And I said, we're not going to talk about AI, but both of them actually benefited AI in the long run. So we're coming full circle here. And without further ado, I think it's maybe time to talk about Ask Red Hat. Which is what everyone's been waiting for, is us to get back to AI. We couldn't get away from it because all of the work, even the unglamorous work, the work that takes multiple years, the offline work, the compliance work, like all of this is like having the good data so that people like can get the, have the unified search experience. The holy grail, just ask a question and just get an answer from maybe Ask Red Hat. And all of this all feeds into it. So I feel like we're coming full circle back. So I'm going to go to the homepage here. And I would like to point out that I'm logged in as the ASP test login, and it's Peter Case, who I believe just presented. So I was like, oh, look at that. I know who that person is, or I've seen that name before. So here we go. So hello, Peter Case. That is not me. This is the ASP login, but I am logged in to the customer portal right now. And we're not going to deep dive into the whole user experience, but like I would just like to say, from like a customer experience point of view and coming here, like this site feels really accessible. It feels very simple. It feels very friendly, which I think it's hard to do when you have a product that is as, complex and advanced as like a lot of the Red Hat products are, and having an audience that maybe the grumpy sysadmins. I come here and the colors and the branding is like, the red and black, but somehow I come here and it feels really accessible. It feels really friendly. I feel pretty confident when I come here, and you'll notice, when I just jumped between the product compliance and here, it's a seamless experience. It seems like it's like the exact same site, even though it might be powered from different things on the back end. It is a very seamless experience. So I think just landing here, I'm already feeling pretty confident, and I just love the user experience of this site once I get logged in, and that's a separate thing if we'll get there. But like this is the homepage of it. And what I think is very unique, and one of the other award besides the offline that I nominated Red Hat for, was their overall usage of AI. Like this was not like just a separate thing or just adding on to the search. Red Hat went all in. When you go to most support portals, the first thing that you see on the page is often the big search bar, right? Like, how can we help, or choose your product? And that is the main call to action. What do I see here? Ask Red Hat. That is the main thing I see above the fold. That's also this main thing on my eye is drawn to up here. I really love this button, by the way. It's right here. And yes, you could still search if you want to, but we've gone all in on this Ask Red Hat experience. It's the primary thing that we're driving people to. And I'm curious, we heard in the last talk, we were talking about, I'm going to say it right. I'm going to say Elio, AI search, one person using the chatbot versus 10 using the regular search. Do you have any sort of data right now on what percentage of people are using Ask Red Hat versus, navigating or going to the traditional search?
I do, and it sounds like you should tune in tomorrow to the presentation I'll be giving as a part of the ASP's second day of events related to these awards. It is not a massive percentage just yet. It is, I think we've had, 30 or 40,000 unique users. No outages yet. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. There's a lot of really cool, we did sort of a player statistics, if you were a video game recently, and just kind of gathered some stats on our users and how it was paying off. P.S. It is, so that's nice. So we have a percentage of users who are using it, and we had a lot of conversations about whether or not we had some people who were like, you should force people to use it. And I was like, man, I would hate that. And we had some people on the opposite end who were like, it should be entirely optional. It shouldn't be in the nav and you shouldn't put it on the homepage because it isn't like perfect at everything yet. And, so we ended up in the middle where we chose the word drive. We want to drive people to it. We're working on it really hard. We're investing in making it really good. There's a team that's working on like continual improvements to this. So if you want to try and use the thing that is all eyes, Red Hat's eyes are on this, trying to make it the best way to help you, this is the spot to go. But we're not going to prevent anybody from using search. That would be terrible. I would hate that experience. And so, as I said at last year's event, like one of the joys of my job is that I get to go to other websites, experience things I do not enjoy, and then come back to work and be like, let's not do that here. And so keeping our users empowered to like choose how they want to interact with us. Like if the first day you've come to our website in 6 months is the day you are experiencing a major outage, which it might be, we're here to help people when they're having bad days, right? So you come to our website, it's the first time you've been here in a while, and Ask Red Hat is there. We are not mad if you are like, I am going to play with your AI later, Red Hat. I just need to look up this thing right now using the tactics I already know, right? Red Hat's like, you got it. We got you. Just come on in. We want to help, But the AI is getting better and better and better at like helping people not just find the piece of content they want, but to represent it to them in a way that makes it so they can use it better. So we're launched in 12 languages, which we can see lots of people using. I can tell you right now, in the first 12 weeks of Ask Red Hat launching, we had users, just one particular type of user who was our partners, attempt to use 50 languages in Ask Red Hat. It represents the content in a way that junior engineers have a lot much easier time getting into, right? And that was what one of our first pieces of feedback from someone who was more of the crusty senior sysadmin who came and talked to us at our yearly event. He said, man, a junior engineer is going to get a lot further before they call me for help now. And that became this organizing principle of how much can we help you? We may not get you to the finish line, but we're going to get you a lot further in a way that feels natural and easy for you, even though you're grappling with a complicated task. That was a long answer to your very short question. Sorry about that.
It is so good. No, I love it. You're wonderful. So like I clicked on it so we can start showing people the experience. This is a lot different than AI you would see on other sites. We saw Elio earlier and you got like the chatbot and it's like it's persistent at the bottom of the site. And you chose to have Ask Red Hat be its like own page and its own experience. So like when I click on it, I go to, /ask on the site. I'm just pointing out for everybody, you get the AI disclaimer, which you can then dismiss. And then this has been updated even since like when I judged the site earlier, but we can ask a question. So we have some example prompts right here. It's giving you the other language. And then you just have like this big message bar, like the old big search bar on a site. Could you explain a little bit more about the thinking of like having this as its own sort of like discrete experience page versus like the chatbot type experience?
Sure. Well, we actually went so we built Ask Red Hat in 12 weeks earlier this year. This experience launched in May. And we only started working on it in February when I said, I think we could do it for Summit and took the job. And so we talked a little bit about what we could do and how we could do it. And a lot of how we ended up succeeding in it is because we made some smart choices along the way. So one of them was people like to go to a place to do a thing. Like we can have a chatbot, sure, why not? But honestly, Ask Red Hat, when we talk about the types of problems we're helping people with, right? Complicated problems. Sometimes the solution is quite long. Trying to stick all of that in a lower right-hand corner chat window made it actually hard to read. Like it's hard to read the answer. And so when we had sort of our early design explorations and principles, one of them was that we want to make it easy to check our work, which is why we have citations in every one, and they're really obvious and you can see them. We want to make them even more obvious. And another one was we want to make it easy to share our work, so you can sort of copy the first instance of that was copy the chat. We recently added it so it copies the citations as well. So when you go talk to your senior engineer, it brings the whole package with you. But really, we wanted to give this room to breathe. And we are looking at other people who are investing billions of dollars in AI. You know what? They have full page experiences as well. When we integrated this chatbot, so since you judged it in August, we integrated the Ask Red Hat experience into our docs site, where it does behave like more like it's not in the lower left corner, but it is sort of docked to the right side. And we integrated it into our support case workflow. So when you create a case, we take the information that you've put into when you create a case, we send it to Ask Red Hat as a query. We just take all the existing fields and we put some words around them. So if you're selecting the dropdown for Red Hat Enterprise Linux 10, the query is like, I would like some help with Red Hat Enterprise Linux 10. And then we say, like, I would title my problem, blah, blah, blah. Here is more information. We take all the fields, represent them as a query, and we have a super high engagement on it. Loads of people checking it out, and loads of people sort of saying, you know what, I am going to take a flyer on this. I'm going to follow that link that Ask Red Hat gave me. I'm going to ask some follow-up questions. And that's really where we see it. It's the easiest place to tie it out to paying off. But in any case, yes, widescreen seemed like the best decision for our users. We were leaning on the brilliant work of others out in the community, in the sort of private code community, as well as in the open source community. Like, your AI experiences need room to breathe. And although we will have like a chatbot so that it's available from wherever you are, and your history will follow you wherever you go, like, we're really trying to make it a cohesive experience. You can always just come back to one place and have that like full page experience there waiting for you.
Very cool. Do you want to poke over? You said that you added it to the support workflow as well as the docs.
Yeah, if you type in the URL docs.redhat.com, and that way we don't have to grapple with whether you have support related entitlements on your test account. This is a good one to show. So if you click on the Ask Red Hat button there, it opens it in a docked experience at the right, so that you can then use it for whatever you need. And again, it's the exact same experience. You get the same answers wherever you go. We've had some debates like about whether or not we should say, oh, you're on the docs site, so you probably want docs more. Honestly, our customers tend to use the word docs for everything. They use it for the knowledge base, they use it for CV, they call it all docs. And so probably not, at least not, we're not investing in that place at first anyway.
Very cool. So this is neat. I really like this. This was new to me. So that's always fun. Very cool. So docs.redhat.com, this is good. So we've got Ask Red, and you have it in the support too. So it's just there, and you have it's just following you around with the same fun button.
It does.
Very nice. All right, I haven't been paying attention to the chat. Are there any questions that are in there that are unanswered that we should address? Because I have a question, but I want to see if other people do too.
We don't have any questions yet in the chat, so you can ask your question, and maybe
so I'm gonna ask my question. So yeah, so one of the things, and I mentioned this in when I was actually reviewing the site. So I'm logged in right now, but like I'm just gonna log out. Here we go. So I'm going to log out as Red Hat. And so the portal, like we mentioned, there are some things that are publicly available, like the compliance site, but it really forces me to log in. And like when I need help with something as an end user, I'm often like I just want to get my answer. But like what's really fascinating to me is that your content, and I think this is really nice. I think this is pretty common. So like if I was just like on Google and I'm like going to search for something, I'm getting answers. Like I can search for this, I get a Gen A answer, I get your SEO is great, and you often like own the top results for your stuff. And I can see this, like I can ask ChatGPT, I can ask Google, I can see links to it. And then when I click on it, if I'm not logged in, it asks me to log in. So like there is this nice balance, and I find this really accessible. Is like I'm not forced to log in to the customer portal to get my answer, because I could just, ask AI. I can like Google and it'll give me there. But if I click on the links, it asks me to log in here. So I love this experience as an end user. I sort of think it's the best of both worlds, but I would love to hear sort of like your thinking about the experience of the end users and that like the forcing of login, but also making your content, like accessible and indexable by like these third parties so that people can get to the content wherever they're looking for it.
Well, Melissa, I think you might know more about all of the various login permutations and strategies than I do. Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I actually see, because you recorded a video of your experience, I think. And I did.
I was a Loom video.
I did watch the whole thing. And you talked about this specific issue during your video, and I said, part of your experience you're getting is because once you log in, your cookie is there for a little bit longer.
Mhm.
So when you log out, it tries to concierge you back into the site to help you back into the authenticated experience. But technically, this page is actually mostly accessible outside of the auth wall. Like if you opened it from an unauthenticated,
Incognito.
Incognito, yeah, sorry,
Yes.
words.
And I
if you opened
did
it from that, it would work.
experience that, is that, you
Yeah.
know, like some of the stuff is publicly available.
Yeah. So the majority of our site, the majority of the customer portal is actually accessible outside of the auth wall. There are only certain ones that require login for the full experience. KBase is one of them. There's some articles that are in content that's accessible outside, and that's a decision that we make on a case-by-case basis. But otherwise, you'll see like the classic, the title with a summary that's overlaid by something saying, hey, you should become a customer. But you also have other things that we think it's being a good citizen of the internet to keep available, like CVE data, errata data. Our discussions are visible, but you can't take part in them unless you're authenticated, which makes sense, I think. And then there are additional places that like again, the compliance experience, the product experience. Obviously, downloads are something you need to log in to get to, but we actually have plans to improve that experience as well. Yeah.
Very cool. So
our strategy is as open as we can be.
As open as you can be. No, that makes total sense. Yeah. So do you have your content that is restricted that you have to log in for? Is that still indexed by like Google, or is it only behind a login?
That's a case-by-case basis as well.
Is it? Because it's really interesting. Like, I think it's an interesting strategy because it helps people get to the content they need and still.
Yeah. Pulls them in. That's one of the things we've had a lot of conversations internally about our external presence on the web. Obviously, there are some reasons for that around external AI experiences that are ingesting publicly available data, but there's also a lot of conversations just about getting people because people, I believe, well, I think everyone's talked about this already, but like people don't just come to your site to search for your content. They'll go to the search experience that they're used to or want to use. And that might be an external AI experience. It might be Google. It might be, Bing, whatever it is, whatever their customary search experience is what they're going to use initially to get to you. And if your data is not accessible by those experiences, then you're not going to be present in the results. So we want to have that balance there of being present enough to draw people to the source of truth that is our website, but also making sure that we're making sure that the answers that are being given are ones that are valid and true about us, because otherwise we're allowing everybody else to talk about us or talk about our products without us in the room, which that's not what we want.
And I think
in the absence of information, people will create their own narrative.
That is true. And so we do want to meet our users where they are, like if they're in Claude Desktop or they're using Google, wherever it is. So for example, everything on the doc site is open to all users all the time. Like the compliance content type that we talked about earlier, open to all users all the time. Our knowledge base, not so much, because, sometimes people in marketing will sort of joke that the only thing Red Hat really sells is access to our expertise. And so the knowledge base is really like inherently tied in with the value proposition of a Red Hat like subscription that you would then pay for, which we then also give away for free with a developer subscription that anyone watching this call can just go get. Look it up, developer subscription Red Hat. But to go back to like what we do, there is that balance between being findable but being protected, right? Because the more you expose, the harder it is to protect it. And if you take a look, I put it in the chat, how can I print UTF-8 encoded text files by LPR in Red Hat Enterprise Linux in Chinese? If you look that up at Google, it will not actually, I don't think it necessarily finds the answer that we have provided about RHEL. It's close, but it doesn't have everything that we have in it. I was particularly looking for the export lang file piece of it. But it finds like some related things but if you go click through that first article now in incognito mode, which is the one I was looking at.
Oh, yeah. I just clicked in regular mode.
Aha, no, we need incognito
Oops.
so you can see it.
Go back.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go there.
So if you head
I
over
need to
there.
switch. Ooh, yeah.
Oh, no
Yes,
one
I
can
get
see it
that.
though. You have to.
I can see it.
Well,
I
no,
mean,
but
I know
think
I need
that-
to figure out how to share this.
Hold
Hold
on.
on, I got
can-
you. I got
okay,
you.
there you go.
I switched.
So like, it essentially partly loads the top of the page so that Google can in fact index the characters that you see on the screen. And then it has the sort of, please log in, right? And we actually say like, it is, you can definitely get to a login quickly. We're probably going to redesign this so that it makes it more clear that like there's a free subscription you can have. We're not trying to bar your access from it. But when you do sign up for that developer subscription, there's additional terms and conditions. And it means that you can't just like scrape the whole customer portal and stick it in Claude Code and get a high five from the Claude people or whatever it is, right? So we're trying to figure out that balance between kind of going all in or being overly protective. We're walking this middle road right now, and we'll see whether or not it pays off in the next year or two.
Well, I think you're doing a great job. I actually, and I said this, I don't usually like when people make me log in, but I love the way that you do it. I love the way that you handle it. And it feels like when I log in, I'm getting a benefit too, right? Like as an end user, it's not just like I'm just changing your name, like the entire experience is customized if I log into the site. But yeah, it's a really nice balance of like meeting your customers where they are, but also like ensuring that they have that experience and like, protecting that like sort of brand promises, like this is the thing you're selling. So I think this is it's a lovely way to implement it. And I've seen it on some other sites. I think you handle it particularly well. And I think it's probably a less frustrating experience for folks on the outside.
We sure hope so.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we're coming up on time. Oh, yeah. I was just going to call. Al, you still here?
I'm here.
All right.
And yes, you've used up your time. So I need all of you to turn off your devices. But Siemens is doing really good work. This is the other company that was nominated by Mary Beth. All user experience and support. But also they were nominated by John Goodson for best use of generational AI. And then when I notified John of Mary Beth's nomination, he felt it was better because it was kind of bigger and it did encompass the use of AI, but was broader than that. So I'll let you two tell people about this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Hal. So we will go through and do like everybody else a basic overview of the site, what the company is about, show you some of the different pieces. And what I plan to focus on here, I have it very, very briefly here, so we can just start, would be to talk about some of the, I have a benefit here because I've actually, due to the way that we have our rotations, I actually judged the Siemens site either 2 years ago or so. And so I actually had some ability to go and say, oh, look, I can see what's changed over time because I could return back to what we had before. So I'm going to go through and talk a little bit about some of the core features that have always been there that made the site, just a good foundational support site, and then we'll talk about some of the new features. But before we get into that, let's go through introductions here. So Bevan, do you want to go first, or?
Yeah, happy to. Bevan Leader, Director of the Digital Support Experience, Knowledge Management and Compliance here at Siemens Digital Industry Software. I've got a team that focuses on our knowledge management, KCS side of things. I've got an individual who focuses on our compliance, SOC 2, ISO, that side of things. And then I've got a team that focuses on Support Center, for our digital first experience. I've been with Siemens for about 11 years now. I've been focused on enhancing this experience the entire time. And so it's near and dear to my heart, obviously, for what we have out there today, and appreciate, all of the recognition, from the ASP group, from you, John, from a couple years of judging, and all the feedback that we've received, we utilize the feedback a lot, to continue to enhance the experience. So we appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, thanks. And I'll introduce myself real quick. I work at IBM and I run our customer support portal, both the sort of front end that the customers use, as well as the internal applications that our agents use. And I have been judging. I would like to see if I could figure out when I started, Al, but unfortunately we changed our mail system, so I lost a whole bunch of mail. But I know it's been at least about 8 or 10 years. But been a very fun thing to continue to do and get experience in looking at what makes a site excellent and keep going from there. So I think what we'll go ahead and do is talk about some of the basic parts of the Siemens DIS website, sort of show you some of the core features, and a couple of the things that just stood out because there are specific criteria when you look at the ASP criteria that really sort of jump out as, okay, they hit exactly what we were looking for in certain things here. One of the things that I found extremely helpful for this site, as well as some, as they've done this before, is the ability to help orient you really quickly to using the site. Now, obviously, a lot of times people are common users, they're going to come back over and over again. So you have to have that balance of going through and not constantly just telling them everything that's about your site when they join, but having the ability for them to quickly and easily go in and find the basics and get things to going. So a couple things that we have here are the ability to click over here and, oh no, I think I lost where it was. There's a function to go ahead and get started very quickly. That's right here to get going with the support website. There's a whole almost mini site in here that goes through and talks to you about how the whole website works. But it also makes it easy to just find the one thing that you're looking for. So you don't have to read the entire guide to go to one particular piece. You can go through and look at different pieces and grab exactly what you need. But one of the core features is also the ability to then take that introduction and actually make the site work for you. So like with many of the sites that we had talked about today, there are hundreds of different products on a lot of these sites. And while we would love our customers to buy every single product, they probably don't. They probably just have a subset. And so there are some really helpful tools within, for example, the Siemens website to say, okay, these are the sites these are the products that I'm actually most interested in. And because this is our test one, I think it probably has quite a few on here that people have tested and added here and added more. But if you're only using a couple of these products, it would make it really easy to just focus exactly on what you're looking for.
Yep. And when they do turn off the visibility, it actually just, in essence, kind of removes that product from the site. So even if they go and they do a search, for example, across their entire experience, it doesn't actually search against the content for the product that they've turned off visibility to. So it truly does customize their entire experience by adding or removing these products from their visibility.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, one of the things that we struggle with in search engine optimization, but it's even probably worse now as we get into more generative AI, is finding what we call the right answer but the wrong product. And a lot of our products are they're all built by the same teams. They reuse some components. They're gonna do some things over and over. So you might find a particular answer that's exactly what you need. I need to update my Java version or something here. It's the right answer for sure and has all the steps fine. But you look at the top of the document and it's for a different product. And you're like, well, I don't know if I can trust that. I'm not using that product. So
right.
having this ability to separate that out and just get the answers that relate to your products is definitely helpful.
Yeah, and another thing to note here is that we do notify, because our site is behind the firewall, they do have to log in, and they do have to be entitled to see the products that they're licensed, that they have an active license for. And you'll note for, some of these products, you'll see that we actually notify them that their support is valid until December 31st of 2027, for example. And that assists the customer to be aware that, hey, your license is coming up, needs renewal, etc. And so our renewal team appreciates that, and they like the fact that it's a little reminder, for the customer that their license needs to be renewed, and they need to take some action on that.
Absolutely. So that is a great start to sort of the functions that are also built in for the account center as well. Because again, with a lot of these products, you have, or a lot of these sites, you have a lot of different products, different sites, different users, different contacts. And I think one of the things I particularly liked was the layout of the account center and how easy it was to sort of find some basic things. I can do some things here, but I could also get down into exactly what I needed to, manage my individual site licenses, see who the users are and things like that. And I think the user management was a new feature as well that y'all added. It's probably been there for a while now, but.
Yeah, actually, so showing the users that belong to each site here has been there, since we launched Support Center a number of years ago. But the ability for the admin at the company through Admin Center is a new application and new functionality that we just launched back in April. So so I can show a bit of that too, if that'll be of interest later on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that'll be helpful. One of the things that I particularly found was when I went through the description of doing that, I know on our own website, one of the things that constantly we spend a lot of time on is giving individual customers the ability to manage their own environment, to decide,
Yes.
I want these people in here, and we had to let this person go last week. I need to remove them real quick, and you don't want to go through a whole lot of calls to your account rep or doing all sorts of other things to go through that process. So giving them the
Spot
ability
on.
to exactly manage exactly when they want to is very critical. And self-service is exactly what folks are looking for.
Yep, that's exactly right. And just to your point, I mean, we spent, so I have a support center operations team, that reports up through me, and a significant portion of their time was literally managing users. If a user came in, needed to register for support center access, and they didn't provide the right level of information, or we had to figure out what products they should be entitled to. We didn't always get it right, and so there were times where my team would grant access to support center, and they would see information that they weren't supposed to see, and so it was a compliance concern. And so we said, this shouldn't be Siemens' decision on who should have access to Support Center and what site they should be registered against. That should be the company making that decision. It should be the customer making that decision, the admin at that company. And so back in April, we launched the Admin Center, which then puts the registration approval and invitation opportunity in the hands of the customer to the admin to decide, who do I want to have access to Support Center, to my content, to my support cases, to my licenses. And then if a user did come in and register on their own, then the site admin would need to approve that before the user would be given access. So, yep, that's so we launched that in April, and it's been a massive benefit for us and for our customers. So it's been amazing.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. The other thing that was one of the common ones that I'll say I always run into, and there's probably a lot of differing opinions about how folks prefer things to work, but it was about the ability to quickly and easily get around to the different pieces that you're looking for, and to also control how you want those to be displayed on your browser. There's this constant, this may be getting almost too technical here, of deciding whether you want to have a focused single page site or you want to have a multi-tabular site. Yep. And I've noticed across a lot of different sites, there's always one paradigm that they choose, and a couple of them, when I've judged them before, I've had to include in my judging comments, yeah, I was using your site for about an hour and I have 47 tabs that have opened up over the time, and nobody wants to do that. So one of the things I appreciated was that generally you have the ability, when you're looking at any articles, you just click on them and they stay within the web page. You don't have to constantly manage tabs. But if you do want to compare two things together, one of the things that a lot of teams do block is essentially you cannot open stuff in a new tab because they've sort of locked it down, because if they're going to force you to use their single page. But y'all have given the ability for people to go back and forth. You can choose to go ahead and open it in a new tab if you want to, if you're going to do something that's comparative between two things. But most of the time you sort of stay focused and do what you're doing.
Yep.
And then this structure here gives you a really clear starting point. And obviously you're probably not always just going to go to whatever the latest information is, but at least you get an idea of what some of the initial set of information is, how quickly that is updated. So you get a real good sense of the constant churn of getting new content out, and then gives you a sense of where you want to go next, if you want to go down here to your cases or move around to different individual products and stuff like that. So the organization, I thought, was extremely helpful. And as you go to any of these product center functions, the sort of navigation paradigm is very, very similar. So you're not going to go, okay, well, this one's completely different from the other one. Everything sort of matches along pretty well. You always have exactly this excellent set of breadcrumbs, which are one of the other things that we judge on, is making sure that you have a consistent way to get around to all the different places in the site, and it's very organized. Now, I think I might turn it over to you, because one of the other things that we judge on is the site management and metrics processes, and we don't really get to see that. It's just part of the submission. But one of the things I noticed was when you had done your submission, you had a really robust explanation of the different metrics that you use, how you actually use them, and then how you actually use them to make improvements to the site as you go along.
Yes. Yeah. So from a metrics perspective, I mean, we capture a significant number of metrics, as we've heard today from all the teams. Obviously we can't be effective if we can't measure our success and our outcomes. So yeah, just a couple of notes. We have I think we're over 6 million visits to our site annually. So we have significant traffic that comes into our site. We track the number of knowledge article views that we get. That's been an interesting, if I'll maybe dig a little deeper on the knowledge article views, because we use that to determine the effectiveness of our articles. How often are they getting viewed? helps us determine how effective those articles are. And if those articles aren't getting viewed, we have a bit of some business rules that define if the articles aren't getting viewed X number of times within, X number of years, then those articles are archived to ensure that we're keeping our knowledge base clean and functional and accurate. Now, we have, and we'll talk about this a little bit, we introduced AI about a little over a year ago. We introduced AI into our site, and we'll demonstrate that. But it's caused an interesting shift in the way that we kind of track our metrics, because obviously when AI utilizes our content, the customer just comes in and they can just see the answer, that AI generates. It doesn't require them to click on an article in order to view that answer to their question or their issue. And so it's caused us to say, how do we now track the effectiveness of our content if we're no longer getting actual clicks on those articles? And so we've had to step back. We've talked with TSIA about it, and they've kind of said, hey, this is new enough that we don't have, good answer as well. And so really what we've tried to do is we've said, hey, if an article is referenced or cited within the answer, within the AI answer, then we have the ability on the back end to be able to say, yep, that article was cited. We treat that a bit like a click, if you will, and we'll give that article credit for being used and cited within that AI answer. So that's been a little bit of a shift, that we've had to make in determining the effectiveness of our content with the introduction of AI last year. So that's been a learning experience, but one that's been a good journey for us as we've tried to figure that out. So I mean, and pretty traditional metrics. We're shifting from our current reporting capabilities. We're moving to a new platform, a new technology with Tableau. So we're a bit in a transition phase right now, going from our current technology and platform to a new one. So a bit of transition there. And so it's giving us an opportunity to reevaluate some of those metrics, tag our site more effectively and track some of the usage of the site more effectively. So we're excited about that, and we'll be including some of these new metrics, some of the new charts in our submission coming up this next year.
Okay, great. All right, well, moving along here. So again, like Al mentioned, one of the things that I had called out was that y'all had done what I think is unfortunately back when we judged it, it was definitely a little bit more not so standard, but some of the other tools we're now seeing them do similar functions, but it at least was something very, very at the forefront of getting things moving along. It also seemed to me, as I was comparing it to some of the other sites that I had used, a excellent sort of balance between focusing on the generative AI functions and still allowing folks to utilize their traditional search. So you have the ability here whenever you search for anything, you've got your combination of getting the suggested answers, which you can dig into and see more details here that give you exactly the step-by-step kind of things that you're looking for. You can get the content that comes with those. They're links to all of the individual references here, all built in and can easily go to that. Or if you still want to just go through and look at the traditional search results. They're still there as well. The other thing I noticed was, at the time that we were doing this, a lot of these generative AI searches weren't truly, you couldn't give them custom instructions. They were great at doing the things that were your traditional sort of vector data search, which allows you to basically say, okay, well, I'm going to take all of this content, vectorize it, and then find the best content and then pull out different pieces of it. But I was playing around with it, and I could actually get it to create different content for me by giving it instructions. So rather than say, just give me the individual steps to install this particular product, I can say, I want these step-by-steps, but I also want you to grab this, and I want you to grab this and grab this piece and stuff like that and put it all together, which is a little bit more than some of the other tools will necessarily do. But of course, everybody's that statement will be gone in 12 minutes when somebody updates something. But it seemed to me at the time when I was looking at this, it had some excellent ideas of going through and having a good balance between, hey, here's your answer, or hey, if you actually want to ask us to pull stuff together for you, let's go ahead and do that, and we can grab that information.
Yeah, I love that, John, and I love the fact that you dug into it a little bit deeper, to determine whether it could do that or not. Part of the challenge that we have is our customers, and I don't know if others, kind of are seeing the same thing, but our customers are so accustomed to coming in and literally just putting in 1 or 2 words because, or 3 or 4 words because of the keyword search that they've been trained to use for so many years. They still do the same. They come in and we look at our search terms and everything that they're utilizing on our site. And so often they're just putting in two terms in order to, get an answer back. And as we know that, that isn't how, our AI generative search is, it works most effectively. And so we're trying to train them to do just what you did, John, and and ask them questions and ask it to give more details about step by step or instructions or installation. Give us more context behind your issue, and AI is going to serve it better, and our AI just gets smarter the more the customers put that type of information in there. So somehow we need to continue to encourage them and communicate with them on how to use it most effectively.
Yeah, I honestly think I've seen exactly the same thing in ours, and I really think it is a matter of just how things are moving rapidly, and people are learning how to do it. Before Google, not everybody would know how to do a search engine query, and even come up with, okay, well, how do I put my keywords in the right way so I'm going to get the right answers? That's gone. You don't need that skill anymore.
That's
but
right.
Now everybody is slowly, but not as fast as the technology is moving, but slowly learning that they can interact with all of their search engines in more of this generative way where they can ask questions and really perform more information. And I know personally for me over the last year how I've interacted with whichever engine I'm using, because I've keep trying different ones to sort of see how they work, and comparing, doing some things with just standard old Google like everybody else does, but then popping over to Microsoft Copilot and ChatGPT and Claude and trying to understand, well, what would happen if I asked that same question over here, and get a lot of different results. And I think people are starting to get used to that, but without any doubt, the first 2,000 queries we get are one word where they're popping in an error message. And that's exactly what we're still used to.
Yep, that's exactly
One of the
right.
other things I saw was even though there are some folks who might put in, just exactly like you said, just a short thing. So I'll just put in one short one
Yep.
here. The AI functions that y'all have now are actually giving us a little bit more than just even generative AI. It's actually pulling through almost a sort of presentation and some key information for a user that they can pop into. I'm not sure if this is the best one to pull, but this one came up, and when I search for it, it came up with this picture and everything that shows me everything there. So I thought that was also interesting, where you're actually trying to incorporate a little bit more. Maybe this one doesn't have a video into it, but you're doing a lot more multimedia than just the text generation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly right. That was that was an enhancement we put in place a few months ago. So, a while after, we submitted. So I'm glad you noticed that as well, as a new feature, because yes, and I'll also share my screen if you don't mind, just for a second.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, similar to, to kind of what you shared here is, if I take, and again, a lot of our customers, so I went to a couple of our support engineers and said, hey, give me a couple of search terms that customers use, and ones that you found very effective in answering a common query. And so one of them gave me this, is how to bulk replace parts, and you can see it's formatted extremely well, where it just takes and gives you method one with clear steps, along with the screenshot that's available there, gives another method, so it brings that back and brings it in from different content sources, but brings it together into a single answer, with three different methods, along with the troubleshooting and the associated screenshots. And then you can see here's the cited article that this piece came from, and I think there was another citation up on the previous search that I did. But it's very easy for them to kind of see the citation and then just hover over it. Gives them a preview of it, but then they can, like you said, they can open that article in a new tab, and it brings up the article that was used. So you can see, yeah, here's a bunch of the content from that article that was used in that answer. And then if they needed to, and they were looking at this, they can actually translate this article real time into Italian. And so then it just goes ahead and translates it real time for them to use it in Italian, or the 13, 14 other languages that we support on our site. So yeah, again, it's a little bit more expensive, because you can imagine with bringing in this type of content, it's this tokenized content, it does make it more expensive. And so that's the other thing to keep in mind is it does cost more to bring in videos, to bring in this type of these screenshots and stuff like that, just because of the data that's being tokenized and being brought in. So there is always a cost to it. And so we always have to be mindful of that. So we've had to pull back on some of the enhancements that we've done and work our way into it, so that we go back to our executives and say, here's the value we're seeing, and it's going to cost, a few extra dollars, for this content, and to display it this way. but here are the benefits of it. Here's the, case deflection, that we're seeing that's offsetting, some of the cost to handle these cases. So it's just, it's a trade-off, and, we continually have to go back to our executives and show the benefit of it and, continue to, help them see the value.
Absolutely. No, I agree. That's one of the more complicated parts is the more folks are getting used to the expectation of how much stuff will be included in the generative AI results. They're definitely looking for more walk me through things and stuff like that. All right. Well, you actually jumped to exactly the next thing that I was going to bring up, which was the translation on the fly. And one of the things that I noticed was that, we absolutely personally, and I've gone to and looking at different sites, it's a struggle to get everything translated quickly and accurately and manage all the different tooling. And while, like you said, it ain't cheap to do the stuff with AI, it definitely is getting to the point now where it's just as good for most languages as you would find in any normal translation where you're doing things directly. And one of the things I really like is that within this function that you showed here, and I picked Spanish, but you could, like you said, you could choose a variety of different things. It actually does give you sort of a sense of, hey, this is happening in real time. So this is a document that was updated, an hour ago. And, if traditional methods, I'd be waiting weeks before a translation comes out. But now I can get it immediately and get exactly what I need. And, comparatively, I couldn't find anything. I couldn't check any language other than the Spanish, but I couldn't find anything that was off with any of these translations, and they seem pretty solid.
Yeah, we went out before we rolled this out. We went out to across the globe to our different support engineers, and we had them test it, obviously, and verify the accuracy of the AI that's doing the translation. And like you said, for the most part, all of the non-double byte translation was spot on. They were like, yeah, this is exactly right. Even some of the technical, terms and things like that, which I will have to say that, some of the more technical terms, we had to go to our AI and we had to put those guardrails in place to say, hey, when you come to these technical terms, then don't translate it, right? Just leave it in its English technical term because it wasn't doing a good job of it, obviously. And so we put those guardrails in place. We did have to work with our team in Japan, and we just had to say, hey, if you have articles that you want translated more accurately, then go to Salesforce, our authoring tool, and translate it there using the capabilities that are there, because it's a more robust translation capability within Salesforce that we have, and translate it there and then publish it instead of relying on the translation that is done here, because we know how picky our Japanese customers are. So
I was gonna say that's the only one that we always have our own, they have their own very specific translation team that they like to use because it has to be exactly the way they want it. So we see exactly the same thing. But I also found that this was just, super easy. And while, we're getting more into a multinational, multilingual world, the more you expand out, you're going to run into these problems. And this overcomes what was a previously huge barrier for a lot of companies to do. I've been on some other sites that had no translation capabilities at all, and implementing this would be just a huge function.
Yeah, it's been it's been immensely beneficial.
All right, and then I think the third new feature that we were going to talk about, we showed, which was the admin center as well. So I don't know if I think I can pop into the actual admin center
there you go.
here, but yeah, it's exactly that, which is looking at the individual site. You can go in and you'll have the ability to go and see pending requests. You can send invitations to other people as well. You can see a whole history of all the changes that have occurred. Of course, you can see all the users at the site level and what their roles are and everything like that. But yeah, there's really, it just gives everything directly to the folks who have the administrative authority for that particular account to manage everything themselves. And then, like you said, it gets y'all out of being the middlemen, which is a really important feature there.
Massive, yeah. This was huge for us, and the huge kudos from our customers who have wanted this capability for many, many years, so that it's in their hands to invite, those who they want to, have visibility and register for support center access. We give them the ability to approve or deny a user, that comes in to register. And then a future enhancement that we hope early next year to provide is a role function, where then the site administrator, can decide, I want to invite this user, but I only want this user to have the ability to view the knowledge base. I don't want this user to open a support case. I don't want them to access the licenses. All I want them to do is view content. So maybe it's the knowledge base and our documentation. So they'll be able to set up a role. They'll, invite the user joins, they're joined to that role, which is, maybe they just call it the content role, right? And that's all they can see is content. So that then they can get down to that entitlement level to really be specific about which users can open support cases. Because a lot of times they're fairly particular about who can open a case, right? They don't want every single user at their company to open a case. They just want their IT group, or their IT leader, to open that support case. So they can just give the rights to that IT leader, and then nobody else has that access, and he or she is the only one that can do it. So we're excited to get that rolled out early next year as further functionality within this tool.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah. In all fairness, I will say we have struggled with that exact same problem, and I'm looking forward to seeing it and seeing how other folks implement that, because we have exactly the same thing, and it will overlap a little here. Going back to the Red Hat call, we have a very similar. I mean, obviously, IBM Red Hat very similar, but we have a very similar implementation to Red Hat about the content entitlement. We'll show a portion of the document, and then they have to log in to see the other ones that we want. But right now, we're utilizing our case entitlement list to determine whether or not they have access to see the content. And we absolutely have had customers who, when we told them, oh yeah, well, you need to add them to your account so they can see the content, they're like, no, I don't want to do that. Exactly. I'm great to have them see the content, but I definitely don't want them to open a case. So that's an excellent way to look at it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So we're excited.
Good. Was there any other new features that you wanted to talk about that we hadn't covered?
I think maybe if you just click into the partners tab, folks may be wondering kind of what that's all about. But what this does is, and I'm trying to remember, may not be working within the test account.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's not working right now in the test account.
Okay.
But ultimately what this is it allows us, when we identify the user as a partner, someone that is reselling Siemens products, Siemens software, and they're also providing support, to those customers. They're able to come into the partner center, and they're able to see all the data behind the support that they're providing their customers. So they'll be able to see, hey, how many support cases have my customers opened, through Siemens, all those support metrics, that are available.
Right.
So
Okay.
our partners love that visibility to be able to come in and see that. It spurs conversations between Siemens and the partner. It gives them visibility into, how much help and support Siemens is giving them and their customers. And so it just gives a different level of conversation between Siemens and our key partners.
Absolutely. That's I know we have tried to implement something similar. It is a little hard to do that partner level structure where you give them access to see the stuff of the companies that they are working with,
yes,
without getting overly complicated and trying to do the well, not to get too technical, the Salesforce sharing model of doing the partner structure, because you can never quite get it to show you the cases without having to add those people to those accounts.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's an interesting one to try to do. And I know a lot of ones that I've seen, at least, I often see that they have it implemented as a whole different site. But the fact that you guys have integrated it together to where it at least looks, I mean, it may be a different site under the covers, but where it at least looks, consistent, and, you can get back and forth to them very easily, will probably help quite a bit.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
and I
right.
think those are the main things.
All right. And we are running great on time. So any questions from anybody? I was checking the chat. Only one person asked a question about whether we were recording the session, so I did answer that, but otherwise all good. All right, Al, I think we can let you start your wrap up early.